Boom, baby, we're live. Welcome to Interview with the Man. Lucky episode 777 episode here. We are going long and strong. It's me, MLD from modernlifedating.com. I'm joined with my two good friends today, Paul from Apex Mindset and the happiest boomer ever, Cappy, the most handsome 50-year-old man on the planet. Look at this stud.
Look at me.
Bravo for Cappy.
The secret is no marriage and no children. There you go. No marriage and no children. You'll look good at 50.
I remember 3 years ago, it's better looking than Cappy. And then I don't know what happened. I just changed. I declined. And here he is. Today,
we're going to talk about female manipulation exposed. And because we're going to be talking about Kamala Harris's recent appearance on the Call Her Daddy podcast. And the reason I brought these two experts on board is twofold. First of all, the expert in understanding the female psychology side of this whole thing is Paul from Apex Mindset. And then the economic policy is Aaron Clary, because he is actually an economist. So I was listening to this yesterday and I was screaming and flipping out by myself. And I was like, I need people to suffer with me. So I called my friends and we're going to break this down right here, right now. So we're just going to jump right into it. Little backstory on this is this interview was so bad and so poorly received on YouTube. They actually took it down off of YouTube and reduced the 44-minute long interview to a 7-minute clip. Kamala Harris internal polls are struggling and they are doing everything in their power to try and save her dying campaign. She just came out yesterday. As you guys know, I'm heavily involved in cryptocurrency. She says she wants to do a lot in cryptocurrency, specifically to help Black men in cryptocurrency. And if you know anything about cryptocurrency, it's terrible that she even said that. There are so many Black leaders in cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency is not in any way keeping Black people out of it whatsoever. It's literally the most trustless, non-biased system on the planet. That being said, about an hour ago, too, Kamala Harris has just come out and says Black people deserve reparations. So they are just scraping the bottom of the barrel right now. Really funny. So we're going to get right into this. You guys want to say anything before we get going?
I'd want to preface it that I haven't paid attention to politics for coming up on a decade now. So when you said, hey, do you want to come on? So this will all be news to me, and I'll try and be completely unfair and biased.
Yeah,
but it already sounds like a shit show, man. It already sounds like a shit show.
Yeah, me too. And I'm here to look at the body language and get behavioral reads and talk about maybe some of the psychology and stuff behind it. But I'm not up on it either. So this will be a first for me for hearing all of it. So it'll be interesting.
You got Cappy for about an hour. I think Paul can stay to the end. So here we're gonna go. We're gonna jump. We are going to jump right into this. Give me a second. Hold on. Are they? Oh, I think. Hold on. Okay, wait a minute. I think it's like not. Okay, here it is. There we go. Cool. All right, here we go.
Daddy Gang, I went to Washington, D.C. to interview Vice President Kamala Harris. As you guys know, I do not usually discuss politics or have politicians on this show because
they're setting you up for the long con immediately with this conversation.
I want Call Daddy to be a place that everyone feels comfortable tuning in. Every single week, I talk about topics like mental health, relationships, sex, sexuality, trauma. Overall, my focus is women and the day-to-day issues that we face. So, I will be honest. I had been going back and forth with this decision for a while. To get involved or to not get involved. But at the end of the day, I couldn't see a world in which one of the main conversations in this election is women, and I'm not a part of it.
Economy, Ukraine, Israel, no. Wham it.
It's so tiring. I got it. Look, I gotta, John. Not to bring up, but this is why I write these books. Did you read my latest book called A World Without Men?
No,
I haven't read that one yet.
Okay, all I did was back men out of the GDP figures. And then
Mhm.
I looked at what the GDP, the economy would look like. You girls, look, this is great. You're all about wanting to kill your babies. Okay. I'm sorry that you majored in dumb shit and now you need a student loan bailout. I'm sorry that you have slight static in your life, but holy shit, you're not the only ones here. And I'm so fucking tired of, as a woman, this election is all about women. Jesus Christ, when is just, but okay. I didn't mean to go, but I'm just like, this is the angle we're going. Is that what this is? It's about women again, huh?
Always solidarity, you know. Well, here's my read so far.
I don't want to get too off track because we're only 1 minute
Okay.
in. But go ahead if you want to. Go ahead, Paul. Give it because you always.
So just a quick, real quick read on this. So she's out of her element already. She has a popular show. I did a little bit of looking back into it, and my girlfriend actually watches her show quite a bit. And you know, since she has 2 shows, I think she has 2 shows, and one with like her boyfriend, who's like, you know, former athlete, like 20 years younger than she is or something. And I've heard a little bit of it. It's not bad. You know what I mean? She's not necessarily bad. It's all comedy and it's all like girl stuff, you know? It's just like comedy girl stuff. And then she got really popular. She's selling out shows, my understanding. She's a stand-up comedian. And so Kamala Harris wants to use that platform now. And so she's going, oh, like crap. Do I not take this opportunity or do I take this opportunity? This chick has no idea what she's doing, which is why she's giving, when it comes to the politics side of it, she has no idea what's about to happen. She's about to get played, I think, for the establishment side of the Harris campaign. You know, she's about to get PR manipulated in a sense.
Yeah.
And she's going to want to be, you know, welcoming and friendly and all this stuff to this potential next female president is what she's going to look at. And she's going to not want to be a dick, you know, and she's not coming at it like, she's not going to be coming at it like a news organization where there's you know, somebody should be asking challenging questions, which is why Harris is doing the interview.
It's all set up too. And then from a perspective of marketing as well. Real quick, my truth, $10 super chat. The other day I saw you threw the biggest fit over stupid people. And when you called that helpline on the software, I thought of Cappy saying that hate is strong in this one. Cappy, listen, I feel like I'm Cappy's bastard child. Somewhere.
You will become me in about 15 years and you'll be as angry and pissed off.
Good. You are Cappy. I hate you, but I respect you. You know, so it's like it's
you
not
will become me. That's the problem. You'd be like, oh, I understand now.
Also, talk about manipulation. You see, the fact that this background is not an accident. Okay, this background is specifically here to make her seem like a scholar, like she's an academic, which she's not. She's literally a podcaster about girls being whores.
I am so aware I have a very mixed audience when it comes to politics. So please hear me when I say my goal today is not to change your political affiliation. What I'm hoping is that you're able to listen to a conversation that isn't too different than the ones that we're having here every week. I was given 40 minutes with the Vice President of the United States. No topic was off limits. I prepared 7 different versions of this interview. Do I talk about the economy? Do I talk about border control? Do I talk about fracking? But then I realized you can hear about all of those issues on whichever news site you prefer. And let's be real, I'm probably not the one to be having the fracking conversation. But the conversation I know I am qualified to have is the one surrounding women's bodies and how we are treated and valued in this country. I want to be so clear.
Say it, Cappy.
What's been Oprah and The View this entire fucking time? I have a question. I'm not a political analyst, but I got to imagine, doesn't Kamala have the female vote pretty locked up? I
No.
mean, Trump is hated, or Trump is hated by women in general, and women generally, based on the polling. Why is she going?
She's
Especially
losing
younger women.
even in the biased polling right now. She's losing pretty well, tremendously. So no, she doesn't have those votes. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but
I'm surprised it's about women again, but maybe they can't help themselves. Maybe it's,
They can't.
but
let me show you the most non-biased poll. So this is a website called Polymarket where people bet money on who they think is going to win. And this is like the real poll right here. Trump has the largest lead ever as right now. He almost this is climbing daily. And people actually have money bet. I think people have $1.7 billion bet on Donald Trump. Yeah, right here. 1.7 billion on him to win.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did something happen recently that those swapped out like that?
I mean, Kamala just keeps talking.
Well, okay. And that's okay. Then
here's the chart.
It's at the end of the day, though, you can't out identity politics a bad enough economy and bad enough suffering. And for a lot of people, that 20% inflation we've experienced in the last 4 years, and that's something close to 25% on groceries and certain consumer good, and the devaluation of the dollar from COVID and all that bullshit. And I'm speaking in your area there, Caps. I don't know if I'm, this is your expertise, not mine, but people are feeling that economic distress. And when people get distressed, they start to get a little bit more practical, and all this other bullshit goes out the window. So that's what the polls are sort of showing. You know what I mean?
Well, then, but then I find it very fascinating that Kamala is going to go and still pander to her bases to diversify and talk about different topics. So we're just running the safety here. We got another young. Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you guys, but out of all the demographics Kamala has, young women, which would be the predominant audience that would tune into this podcaster, I think that she doesn't need to convince them. But okay, let's hear another episode of The View then, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, she's going to be on Joe Rogan as well, because she's suffering with young male voters.
Well, maybe she shouldn't be a socialist, anti-male. Yeah.
To save that.
I gotta be careful.
It's coming. It's coming. Just say it all. It's my channel. Who gives a shit?
Clear. One-sided conversation. We reached out to former President Donald Trump to come on the show. If he also wants to have a meaningful, in-depth conversation about women's rights in this country, then he's welcome on Call Her Daddy anytime. So, Daddy Gang, with all of that said, let's get into it.
Oh, that's an annoying intro.
Oh.
Okay, here we go.
Madam Vice President
Alex,
welcome to Call Her Daddy.
it is good to be with you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
We're in the final stretch of the election.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. And I'm feeling nervous. There's this old adage, there are only two ways to run: without an opponent or scared.
Or on your back like you did.
So there you go. The only thing that matters is really just spending as much time as I can, as much time as I possibly can, meeting with people and talking with them about the stakes and their future.
I'm curious, you don't do too many long form interviews. What made you want to do call?
Because you can't read a teleprompter for that long.
That's what I'm saying. And this is, I am not terribly familiar with Kamala Harris's background, but isn't she just kind of a spoiled brat, nepo baby, affirmative act? She's just had the skids greased for her the entire time. And now you have someone who's never been challenged actually have to just comport themselves publicly, I'd imagine. Am I wrong?
Well,
about
she
this?
got into politics with, pussy privilege. We'll call it what it is. So she was someone's side bitch.
Well,
No,
okay, she
seriously,
didn't serve a tour in Afghanistan and knows how. I mean, are we looking at some cringe that's about to come here? Where you see,
she used to be Montel Williams' side bitch.
She's been a bunch of
guess.
different side bitches though. There's been a couple of, you know what I mean? Her politics. What was it? Willie? What was that guy's name?
Willie Brown.
Anyways, Yeah. So that's, and not to say she didn't get into legitimate. It's kind of like somebody who does, you know, drug deals and then gets into and gets into legitimate business later. You know what I mean? Like she got into legitimate politics after doing a lot of being a side girl for a bunch of different prominent people.
And then I call her Kabbalah because she's clearly controlled. Like she's not. She can't be this dumb.
When she was selected for the vice presidency because she's a minority female, not black. She's a minority female. So I think she's just kind of like paint on a car.
Yeah.
But I mean, but here's let me point this out. Just step back and take a look at this picture we got in front of us. This is for the fucking president of the United States. Look at this fucking shit. It's like we're talking like, let's have some biscotti and espresso and just discuss. Like, what the fuck is this? This is shit. This is go play it. It's only going to get worse, I fear.
Call her daddy today.
Well, I think you and your listeners have really got this thing right, which is one of the best ways to communicate with people is to be real, you know, and to talk about the things that people really care about. I mean, what I love about what you do is that your voice and your show is really about your listeners. And I think especially now, this is a moment in the country and in life where people really want to know they're seen and heard and that they're part of a community, that they're not out there alone. And so I'm really glad to be with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time. I know you're a very busy person. I really like to get to know people on my show.
Okay.
Obviously, we are going to talk about all the issues that are going on, but I also want to get to know you as a person today. Yeah. Is that okay with you?
Of course.
Okay, let's get into it. Growing up, my mother is a psychologist. Yes.
Oh, how is that?
Oh, it was great question. Now in hindsight, like fabulous.
Yeah.
When I was in it, I was like, Mom, why do you know everything? Like, leave me alone. But one thing I really valued was she really emphasized the importance of mental health and talking about our feelings and communicating. And I know that you were primarily raised by your mother.
Yes.
Can you share with me, like, what values did your mom instill in you from a young age?
Well, you know, similar to what you described about your mother, my mother definitely impressed upon us the importance of us being able to express how we were feeling. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it, I think, was also about her teaching us that we had agency. And so that things don't just happen to you. And so think about how you were feeling, not just as a way to dump, but also as a way to kind of figure out where you are in a moment, right? And center yourself. I mean, to your point, when I got older, like when I was in, I don't know, late teens, my 20s, if I came home with a problem, I'm telling you, every time if I came home with a problem, the first thing my mother would do is she would look at me like other mothers.
By the way, Cappy, this was filmed while everybody was dying and suffering in North Carolina for the hurricane. You're muted, pal.
I understand she's on a campaign, so I'm going to kind of overlook that. The premise of all this, people, women included, you need to step out. They're discussing each other's feelings and how their mothers raised them.
Yes.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And the reason here's why this
is Cappy. I'm glad you see that. Go ahead, Paul.
Here is the reason that they're doing this from my perspective. And I understand I'm not a big political analyst here, but look, it's just psychology. They've had an abysmal 4 years already in things that are really important to people at home, particularly economically in a number of things. So she's been a part of an administration that's basically been a failure for 4 years, going from withdrawals, militarily a failure with withdrawals to Afghanistan, with money going to different places, money not going to other places like to the hurricane victims, and then, you know, devaluation of the dollar, all that stuff. So whatever, we can start listing things, but it's been a 4-year failure. So she can't ride on policy and look smarter or better than Trump on policy, because people are going to look at policy and go, wait a second, I felt better when Trump was in office, even though the guy's kind of an asshole, but I haven't felt better in the last 4 years. Things have been messed up here. And so, like, which way am I going to go? So the way that they're trying to do it now is to appeal to the sensibilities of people. I'm real. I'm a real person. I care about this. What was that saying? I grew up in a middle-class small town, like whatever.
It
to go away from policy and to stick with, hey, I'm just like you guys, we're in this together, all this stuff, to counteract Trump, who looks like an asshole sometimes, right? So Trump made better policy decisions, but it's to attempt to shift people's attention away from that. And unfortunately, because we're a little too comfortable in 2024, I don't know if we're uncomfortable enough for people to vote different. So shifting to emotions and feelings and
Feels before
personalities,
reals. That's all this
just
is.
might work for her, you know?
Feels before
Like, I
reals.
don't know. Yeah. So
Go, Cappy, say it.
I was just going to say, could we also say this is the byproduct of essentially having a female influencer who audience is female is going to set the tone for this?
Oh, it gets worse.
right. Well, that's her
Okay,
show. Her
all right.
show is about.
No, I know.
comedy,
So I mean,
you know?
it's
So, yeah.
going to be this way,
Yeah.
but okay, I do want to get to the train crash. I want to
Yeah.
see the train crash.
There we go.
I believe we're hugging their kids and like, oh, honey, what can I do? And my mother, the first thing, what did you do? But here's the thing that I realized. She was actually teaching me, think about where you had agency in that moment. And think about what you had the choice to do or not
That key word is agency that they're going to use to manipulate down the road.
do. And like, don't let things just happen to you. And I realized that was a really powerful thing she was teaching, which is figure out how you can take charge of a moment.
Yeah.
You can't always. We don't have control of everything, obviously, but don't just let things happen to you without thinking about, okay, what can I do in this moment?
It's fun to hear you say that because these are themes that I've talked about on my show before. Of like,
Yeah.
we can sit here and dwell on something that happened to us,
Mhm.
but then we can also say, yeah, but what could I have done in that situation to have autonomy over my life? People can do things to you, but you can only decide how you're going to react. That's all you have control
But that's
over, right?
exactly right. But that's exactly right. And in that way,
And the only way you can react in this context is to vote for Kamala.
you realize, don't let anyone take your power from you. You know, that's
Again, keyword agency, take your power from you.
But the Democrat Party, again, not to be this simple, the Democrat Party is all anti-agency. Nothing's your fault. Get other money from other people. What you said, she wants to give reparations to black people. Dude, you're not poor because of slavery from 300 years ago. You're poor because your culture and society condition you to make very, very bad choices. If anything, it is the abdication of agent. Now she's a responsible adult. Now she's serious about agency. But continue on. I mean, it's just it's a lie right off the bat.
Well, that's what you're going to hear the whole interview. She's going to try to counteract what everybody knows about that party and about what they've stood for so far. So they're going to try to counteract that with these interviews and trying to personalize her, you know, and it's, of course, it's a sham, right?
Shut up and take my money.
Dr. B says, you're speaking some hardcore womanese. We may need a translator to give the manese version. That's what Paul's here for. And then glad Trump is leading in more legit polls, but the presidency is in lockdown until Trump takes the oath again. All NPCs need to get out and vote. Yes, and vote Trump. Please save our country.
so important. I mean, the other thing my mother would say all the time, and I'm going to quote, is don't do anything half-assed.
Yeah. I'm curious when you're saying that about, you know, have agency over your own life and don't let things just happen to you, like take control and take accountability. How have you put that into being the vice president of the United States?
A lot of my career was as a prosecutor. And so it was about really wanting to protect the most vulnerable.
By locking up black men for smoking weed. Got it.
And where they did not have the power.
As the resident weed smoker, I'm offended.
It wasn't of their own choosing, but because they were the subject of abuse, because they were the subject of an imbalance of power, right? And so a lot of the work that I've done has been about wanting to restore, to the extent I can play a role in that, their right to have justice, to have voice. You know, right now, this fight for what we need to do around reproductive freedom is, I mean, could it be more at its core about just the basic right any individual of whatever gender has to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do? Or even voting, right? About saying, look, I know that there's cynicism. I know that there's a real feeling that, well, what does it matter? Does my voice matter? But a lot of my push to kind of hopefully convince people that they should vote is because you should never let anybody take your power from you. And voting is one of the ways that you use your voice to determine.
What about the power to work and vaccine mandates?
And pay back your fucking student loans. Isn't that agency? Isn't that like
they talk
honest
about
to
that.
God?
Cappy, you're like angry Stradamus. You know, they fucking absolutely talk
This is
about.
why I don't watch politics, because this isn't going anywhere. They're lying to you. I believe 100% sincerity on the part of the interviewer. I think she's sincere and all
You
that.
shouldn't. She's bad.
Is
You
she
shouldn't.
okay? I mean, I don't know. Call me daddy. Okay, fine. But she seems to be doing the interview pretty isn't intellectually honest, but she's also female and she has a female centric audience. So and she even admitted that up front. This is just a waste of time. A waste of fucking time.
Yep.
And who your government will be and what your future will be by your government.
You've already made history. You are the first female vice president.
Yeah.
You could very well become the next president of the United
Yeah.
States. What do you think your mom would say?
Well, okay. So let me just tell you what my mother did say when I was running for attorney general. Okay. So there'd never been a woman attorney general in California. And the race was so tight. I mean, fast forward to the end on election night, my opponent declared his victory. By the way, I won. Okay, but let's go back. Let's go backward. So when I was first running, and it was when my mother was very sick with cancer, and she ultimately passed away. But I would take her to the hospital, and I spent a lot of time with her and took care of her. So one day we're at the hospital, and she's in the bed, and she was at this phase of her illness where she was really tired, and so I'm sitting next to her, and she had her face turned in the other direction. She was kind of half sleeping. And then she leaned over to me and she said, "What's going on with the race?" And then she leaned back over and I said, "Well, Mommy, they said they're going to kick my ass." At which point my mother turned her head, looked at me, and had the biggest smile. Had the biggest smile ever. That was my mother.
Across from you.
So this
Look at
has
you,
been
I
edited.
think,
This isn't there's cuts in here.
Absolutely edited, scripted. I mean, you could the chick. Listen, this chick talks about her Call Her Daddy podcast is all about chicks having tons of promiscuous sex. It's like it's a podcast for how to be a whore, basically. Like
I looked it up. It's like Sex in the City. It's in New York. Human sexuality, human relation. Okay,
Yeah.
And Kamala's campaign managers thought this was a good podcast to go on.
Yeah, because it's a female demographic.
Okay.
Sitting across from you, I think, as women, we have to work 10 times harder. We got to be smarter. We got to play the game to even get our foot in the door sometimes.
Shut the fuck. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Cappy, let it all out. That's why you're here.
You're the most, listen to me as an economist. Okay. American women ever lived in the world,
history
actually. Of the world, in
Yes.
the history of the world. You are not oppressed. You have the skids greased for you in pretty much every capacity and function, whether it's political, sexual, hiring, economic. And the fact that you are conditioned and brainwashed to believe you are victims is getting mighty fucking sick and tiring.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a call sign or a rally point or a wink and a nudge. We're oppressed, right? Or you actually believe that shit. But you are misdiagnosing the problem. You will never close the wage gap. And if you want, did they not just talk about agency half a fucking second ago?
Mm-hmm.
And yet they're the victims. It's time. Look, this is what's going to happen where you have women who work really hard and actually did have, weren't pretty, didn't have privilege. And every man, you want to get men. And here you are. Women are so oppressed. OMG, girlfriend. It's the same fucking schlock these young men have heard from their fucking teachers on. And here's where our world comes in. What? We've been sitting here unquiet. You don't think millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of men around the world hasn't read our shit and haven't figured out, hey, wait a second, this is bullshit. We haven't oppressed any of these girls. No wonder they probably took it down. This is definitely going to hurt Kamala in the male vote because men are sick of it. They're sick and tired of this same shit all the time.
Well, I think they took it down, if I'm not mistaken. They took it down because for Call Her Daddy podcast and all that took flack for this. Is that what I'm understanding?
even the comments are men and women terming on her on the clip, which I'll go to later during
Yeah.
comments.
So her audience turned on her for basically selling out on this. And so that's why they took it down and stuff like that, which is a good sign, right? I mean, that's a good sign. I mean, it's hard because people nowadays have the attention span. Last I checked, it was 8 seconds of the average attention spans. And a goldfish is 9.5. So, I mean, people are getting stupider and more easy to control. So it's nice to see a little bit of pushback every now and then. I'm glad they took it down. I'm glad they got some pushback on this. You know what I mean? Maybe things will turn out okay in a few weeks for the election. Maybe. I don't know.
Here we go.
Can you tell the daddy gang?
Yeah.
When people tell you no, when people look at you and doubt you,
Mm-hmm.
what does that ignite in you?
So I've been told that many times. And through the course of my career, I've been told, you know, at one point, you're too young. I've been told, oh, nobody like you has ever done that before. Oh, they're not ready for you. Oh, and this is the one that kills me. Oh, it's going to be a lot of hard work, right? As though we don't like hard work. And here's
You
my response.
don't. You
I don't hear no.
You
I don't
women
hear no.
are the biggest avoiders of hard work there's ever been. Hang on. What do you think Kamala Harris majored in? What do you think her undergrad? Hang on. Kamala Harris, undergrad. It ain't fucking engineering. What is it? Divine nine.
She wasn't an
Political
attorney, so she
science
did
and
get through law
economics.
school.
Fuck off. Fuck off. And what did daddy woman major? Hang on. What's this girl's name?
Alex
Call me
Cooper.
Alex Cooper. I mean, go ahead. Continue on. Let me look up what Alex Cooper majored in.
Okay,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm
Play
not,
the thing.
she's just a comedian, dude. I'm not sure.
No. And I urge all the daddy gang, don't hear no. Just don't hear it.
Throughout this election, your identity has been called into question many times. Your opponent
Thought
has
no
called
means
you
no.
crazy, weak.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. No means no, except if you're a
Wait a
woman
minute
listening to this podcast. She
Yeah,
graduated
guys,
with a degree of Boston.
Send her one more text.
Communications
Send her one more
major.
text, boys.
Yes.
Communications major. She's the
A degree in
fucking-
film and television. Yeah.
Fucking Christ.
Weak, fake, and dumb. How does that affect you?
I think it's really important not to let other people define you. And usually those people who will attempt to do it don't know you.
I want to talk about before your career in Washington.
Yes.
You mentioned you worked as a prosecutor specializing in sexual assault
Yeah,
cases.
yeah.
And this is something obviously I touch on my show. I have so many women that listen and
Yeah.
I want to talk to you because I know you had a personal connection as to
Right.
why you really sought that out. Can you talk about what led you to taking
Yeah.
on that career?
So when I was in high school,
Mhm.
my best friend, her name is Wanda, I learned was being sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And, you know, I knew something was going on because she didn't want to go home. She just seemed sad. And so she told me, and I immediately said, you have to come and stay with us. I called my mother, who was at work. Yes, she has to come stay with us. And she did. And I just, it upset me so that someone where they should feel safe and protected were being so horribly abused and violated, right? And anyway, I decided at a young age I wanted to do the work of protecting vulnerable people. I mean, look, I'm the eldest of two
John, can
daughters.
I
I was raised
interrupt
with
for a
my mother
second?
saying, since
Absolutely.
Our
Why didn't you go
president
into
is speaking,
criminal?
excuse me.
Why didn't you go into criminal justice? Why didn't you become a cop? She majored in political science. That's
Well,
not
yeah,
like
she
going
wanted-
out and protect. Yeah, that's bullshit.
Career in politics.
She had to keep the world safe from black men that smoke marijuana. That's what she did. She built her whole career on locking black guys up, and now she's coming out with this shit. Black guys are like, "Fuck you, fuck you."
What did she have like an anti-marijuana stance or like
Yeah.
a minor possession? Was she like an anti-drug type of DA?
She, with the whole drug hype in the '90s, and
So
she's-
victimless crime. So
Yeah.
she threw a bunch of people away because they want to do their doobies or something like that. Not sexual. I mean, does she have a career in prosecuting sexual offenders?
I think some
And-
human traffickers from Mexico. Yeah,
Okay.
That
Alright.
that would be a good thing, right? But then there's
I-
also
no, for that,
you know,
yeah.
but then there's also like, okay, what about, what about situation? Like, to what degree are we talking? Like, is there, I don't know what her history is, but like there's situations too where guys get pulled into court for being a sex offender when they didn't do anything wrong and they're having the system used against them. So I wonder if she did anything about that to defend
and
against
on
that.
top of that too, okay, so because she did prosecute a lot of sex trafficking people from Mexico, so why is the border open and letting them all in?
Well, again, the contradictions are many here, and I'll be honest. So far, the vice president ain't doing too bad on this interview. My main gripes and contentions is the typical lying politician that contradicts everything, and I guess the nature of this interview where, okay, you got some Bipsy Becky asking I mean, it's just listening to hens squabble is all it is right now.
Yeah. Well, when you want this, we don't need to go into it right now, but the social psychology perspective of what the strategy is and why it works a lot. Hopefully it doesn't work this time, but it can work. And I'll explain that later. We'll say later in the video. We can watch more.
Practically the day my sister was born, look out for your sisters. So maybe it started when I was 2, but Wanda and her experience really convinced me and made me realize how this can happen and what we need to do to stand against it.
Can you, because again, like I have women write in being like, I don't know who to tell. I'm DMing you and I'm telling you because the shame and the terror and the where do I go from here? And most of the time it is the people that are closest to them that are doing this. Like,
it is.
What feelings do you have? And like, what is the course of action in that moment that you take?
So the first thing that I would say to anyone going through it is tell someone that you trust. Don't quietly
call the cops.
You have done nothing wrong.
You
have done nothing wrong, and don't let anyone convince you have. Often the abuser will tell her that if she tells, then something worse will happen. And that is usually wrong. And
Gabby, if I ever get stabbed or mugged, I'm not going to call the police. I'm going to call you. Okay.
Thank you. I'll be here for you, John. We can have an emotional discussion about it.
Well, here's the interesting thing too. It's like she, call the police. You didn't do anything wrong, but what if you did? Right? Like, what if you did? Like, how many? I have story after story from men that I've coached and people who have come to me after crazy divorces where she destroys property and loses her mind in an argument while she's intoxicated and then calls the cops and then says he's abusing me. And then he goes off into cuffs and she is now filing a restraining order. I have guys who have false allegations of child abuse or of abusing a woman after divorces and during divorce proceedings. In fact, in Japan, where you're at, John, that is a playbook move by attorneys there, which is to do a false allegation. And the system, that the process of fighting that will get her more bargaining power in the divorce. So when there's money on the line in the divorce, for bargaining power, they'll throw out false allegations and then eventually offer to drop those charges for giving you more prizes at the end of the divorce. This is a strategy that's happening. And so I appreciate somebody who's assaulted. They should report it. They should get out of it. They should do everything they can. My heart goes out to true victims of assault, men or women, depending on whatever the circumstance is. But there's so many cases where the girl absolutely is wrong. And she's, that needs to be considered in these conversations. Yeah. Don't ever let anyone tell you you're wrong because you're a woman. Because yes, again, you're wrong a lot. Well,
the thing here is the number one important part is like how it's just this whole thing is very, if you can see past the veil of the emotional storytelling, it is a gigantic manipulation. This whole thing from start to finish, from her intro to her sitting in front of a bookshelf to the scripted questions that she has in front of her. I would not be surprised if Kamala had a teleprompter behind this woman.
Well, who are they trying to manipulate? This woman's audience? Because they're not manipulating us.
Well, I mean, it is a gigantic push towards trying to get voters for sure.
Right.
That's
No,
literally-
it is a marketing move, no doubt. But and so it's all manipulation to
So
some
here's
level.
why it works though. There's a whole it works because we have a simp economy right now, and we have women that identify with being the victim who has to overcome stuff. So here's where this victim narrative comes from on the female side of things, particularly, right? Is that women biologically, evolutionarily are the weaker sex. So they use and are better at social manipulation than men are in order to gain power. Men have classically gotten power through acquiring resources and protection. So making society better, getting money, and protecting that stuff from outside invaders, right? That's how guys gain power, and then we make the rules because we have all that stuff. Women learn how to move within a system socially. And so there's more of a wiring there and a tendency to want to do that. And they're the physically weaker of the sexes. So they're used to social manipulation in order to get what they want, right? Now, in doing that, they're also solipsistic. So as women got more power and more equality, I mean, there isn't equality anymore. I'd say the balance is tipped in favor of women now, depending on the profession that they're in. But they don't recognize that because of two things. One is that the victim narrative, and I am having to overcome adversity and oppression in order to do well and to do better, manipulates the system to make things easier for them to succeed. So what they use, their power in order to get ahead, right? And then the other thing is there's a level of solipsism where, okay, that solipsistic thing is part of a female defense mechanism that has tracks into evolutionary our history. And so seeing things just from that perspective and not having empathy, what they're not understanding is that nobody has it easy. Like life sucks balls sometimes.
It's unfair.
And you have to, it's unfair. Everyone has adversity to overcome. It's just to different degrees. Some people were, born into like privileged, wealthy families, 1% of the people. Everyone else has had to overcome adversity. But women are sitting there not seeing the adversity that men have to deal with every day.
And they go into that in the upcoming parts here. Check this out because it gets, like I said. Well, and Paul, you and I are going to have more time. I just want to get as much time with Cappy's opinion because he's got to go
Yep.
Get his friend.
And know that there are people that want you to be safe and will want to protect you, but don't silently suffer. And know that you have a right to live in a place where you feel safe and are actually safe.
Unfortunately, I know that so many women can relate to what we're talking about. 1 in 3 women has experienced some form of sexual abuse in their life.
That's exactly right.
And I feel like when we say that, that number can get lost because it's like 1 in 3 women, like, this is happening. This is real. This is happening right now.
But Alex, let me just say this also. Thank you for talking about it, because part of the issue is that people don't talk about it. And I don't mean the survivors of it. I mean, nobody does. And
please talk to the police.
The more that we let anything...
say, John, can you pause it for? Let me be very quick. I worked security at the U of M campus. It was part of the police department, and we were there. There'd be accusations and this and that. The first thing they tell us is you got to get to the cops. You know why you got to get to the cops? Because they got to go do a DNA test on you so they can get the bad guy. We're trying to fucking help you. Make a choice. Do you want the endorphins you get from being a victim and complaining, or do you want to catch the bad guy? We're actually trying to practically help you. And this it gets tiring. We don't talk about this enough. No, we talk about it enough. When are you girls going to take agency and go report your bastard ex-boyfriend or whatever to the cops? When does that happen? But see, and I'm afraid this is what the entire conversation is going to be. This is not intended for us. This is just not intended for men. That much is clear. It's not practical.
No,
it's just circular. They've been talking about this shit for decades. This is no different than Oprah interviewing Ellen DeGeneres. This is just So, I mean, go on, but there are people trying to actually help you girls out. They're called the good guys, but you keep on doing this. What was us if there wasn't a thing and da-da-da. Report them to the cops. But geez, let me guess, you're going to vote to have a bunch of criminal aliens come in here. You're going to be soft on crime. I mean, where do the Democrat policies line up with protecting women? Really, where does that happen? And if anything, we're the ones that get arrested or anything like that. So it's just tiring seeing the disconnect from reality. But yes, this, Paul, you're right. This is a woman's show. This is female opera. This is in the minds of women. And I have a feeling if I watch the whole thing through, there's not going to be one practical, critical assessment and solution of a problem in the United States. But it sure the fuck is going to feel good talking about it.
Yeah, to them.
Exist in the shadows, the more likely it is that people are suffering and suffering silently. And we need to talk about it. We have to talk about it. Child sexual assault is something that affects far more people than the public discourse about it acknowledges. And the more we talk about it, the more we will address it and deal with it, the more we will be equipped to deal with it, be it in terms of schools, in terms of the society at large, right? And to not stigmatize it.
I agree. I think like the power that we have is through our voice over here, like me trying to have a conversation any chance I can get, the amount of times I have conversations with women. And then I have thousands of women reaching out being like, oh my God, I just remembered something from watching this podcast episode and it brought back the trauma, but now I know I need to get help. Like years ago, this wasn't even a conversation.
But see, that's
It's so traumatic that you forgot about it.
exactly right. And so when I say stigmatize it, what I mean is stigmatize the survivor.
Yeah.
We still have so far to go on the issue of child sexual assault.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of that one woman who stigmatized a shitload of survivors. Oh yeah, Hillary Clinton. Isn't that someone who tried to lock up all her husband's accusers in prison from the Democratic Party? Got it. Just there's another one on the checklist.
Yeah. Let's not think about all the dead women from Epstein's Island and other places too, though.
How dare you?
Just like in a previous time, the issue of domestic violence. People didn't talk about domestic violence. And part of it was this really warped idea that, well, what happens in the home is none of our business. But if it happened on the street, it would be our business if we witnessed it on the street. And so the point being that abuse of anyone is something we should all take seriously, as opposed to saying it's not our business. It's something that we have to agree should not happen, and whatever resources and whatever attention we can put into reducing the likelihood that it happens is worthwhile.
Where do 21 illegal immigrants factor into that, reducing the probability of this happening? And I'm not an economist, Harry. I'm just a dumb guy on the internet. Like, where we at, Cappy, on the 21 million unvetted?
You know, I haven't checked, and I don't care. Like, I can't take any of this seriously because it's like you can just say something and it has no tethering or anchoring in reality. And so I really, I'm not the audience. I don't know how any men can get through this. If anything, what you're seeing is these girls really are just about themselves. And I think I always kind of question Rollo on this a little bit, where it's like, oh, sisterhood uber alles. I think we're witnessing this right here. There's no discussion about.
Exactly right.
There's no discussion about. I'm not even saying they have to acknowledge men. It's not that. But can you acknowledge the economy or the cost of food for mothers, and it's the same vagina staring, looking at your navel bullshit that they all talk about all the time. And it's kind of a shame on both of these two ladies, where you have a very influential podcaster and you got the vice president of the United States, and you're talking about this because all you can do is focus on yourselves. Like, dude, talk about the fucking country. But here we are, and they're not even talking practically or literally about it. But go ahead. It's just I'm having a hard time listening to this because they're not saying nothing.
Yeah, because you're a man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very literally. Yes.
How do we make this country safer for women?
21 million undocumented immigrants.
Arrest all the good Samaritans who protect people on the subways.
We need more immigrants.
That's a big question. There's a lot to unpack there. I mean,
Like unpacking 21 million. I'm just going to drive that point home. 21 million undocumented immigrants. Right on in. Come on down. You want some food stamps and a cell phone? Hey, we'll double it.
Defund the police. That's how you
Defund the
protect.
police.
Defund the police.
Yep. We give you a bonus if you kill a white woman who helps us with our narrative.
Jesus.
I mean, one of the things, for example, on domestic violence that I can tell you is this. When a woman, and in particular, if she has children, if she is economically reliant on her abuser, she's less likely to leave. Because most women will endure whatever personal physical pain they must.
John, can we pause this?
In order to
Go for it.
I have something to say.
As a percentage of their base population, which group in America suffers the most from crime?
The African American population?
The American population, which group within the United States, demographically speaking, based on how we politically analyze, which group suffers the most?
Whites, just because they're the biggest?
No. As a percentage of their population, like adjusting for the size.
African American? I don't know.
Black men. Black males are the ones who suffer the most crime. Now, usually at the hand of other fellow black men. American Indians are very close second. Here we are. Did you know that in this very unique instance, women suffer? Like, if you really want to make the country safer, wouldn't you say you'd start with black on black crime?
Shut up and take my money.
Just as an analysis, you'd say, all right, who's committing it? Who's suffering it? There's where we start. Fuck you,
You know
guys.
how you start on black on black crime? You know, you start on that single
How?
motherhood.
Well, you're not wrong, Paul. You're not wrong. Right. But
how.
here we are. I knew a woman once who had an abusive boyfriend and she couldn't leave. How about that? Like, they're tone deaf to the rest of the nation. That's what it is. They're unaware the rest of the nation exists.
Shout out to My Truth. I see your 21 illegals and I raise you 35 trillion national debt. Here we go.
to make sure their kids have a roof over their head or food. So one of the ways that we know that women are able to walk away from abuse, and there are many layers to her being able to do that, but one of them is, does she have the economic freedom to be able to do that? Right? So one of the ways that we know we can uplift the ability of women to have choices is uplift the ability of women to have economic health and well-being.
Economic health and well-being. Got it.
Right.
So they're
We're
going to major
failing
in
there.
engineering?
There-
You're not going to have kids you can't afford. You're not going to spread your legs. What?
21 million illegal immigrants.
Agency. Women have agency. They're going to make sure they don't put themselves in that situation. They're going to make sure they can afford the kid before they have it, right? Right.
I'm going to get more into that later, but about, how we can make that possible. But I do want to reference something I saw was at a rally in Pennsylvania, former President Trump recently told women, you will be protected and I will be your protector. What do you make of that?
So he who, when he was president, hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade.
Shut up.
And they did just as he intended. And there are now 20 states with Trump abortion bans.
Trump abortion ban? Is
It's
that
called state rights. That's what it. Yeah, because I don't want to bother women's bird brains with the concept of states' rights and the Constitution.
Billy Huang, $10 super chat. Please order some strawberry and cream cheese crispers from Perkins for Cappy. Calm him down a bit.
Including bans that make no exception for rape or incest, which we just discussed, which means that you're telling a survivor of a crime of a violation to their body, they don't have a right to make a decision about what happens to their body next, which is immoral.
I think she's lying. I don't think Trump even.
This is the same guy that
He wasn't even fucking in office. He wasn't even in office.
No, you're right. But it was his Supreme Court justices.
Supreme
But
Court
yeah,
decision.
it was you misapplied Roe versus Wade. That's what it was. But go continue.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
that is now saying that. This is the same guy who said that women should be punished for having abortions. This is the same guy who uses the kind of language he does to describe women. So, yeah, there you go.
I do want to focus on abortion for a moment because 2 years ago, Roe v. Wade was overturned and women lost their constitutional right to an abortion. I put out an episode about it. I flew to North Carolina. I went to a preferred women's health center. I met with women that were getting screamed at and chanted at and called baby killers. And it was the most eye-opening experience I've ever had, because I am a privileged white woman that lives in Los Angeles, and I am so aware of that. I understand that a lot of the younger generation sees things online and is like, what is right? What is wrong? What is real? What is not? Can you explain and talk about what is actually happening to abortion access right now in this country?
Yeah. So again, I thank you for what you've been doing at the earliest stage of this and following the stories. So, you know, on public policy, I often tell my team, look, I don't want to hear about public policy is a fancy kind of speech or paper. Tell me how it'll affect a real person. So let's talk about how it affects a real person. The majority of women who receive abortion care are mothers. So if she's in a state, and by the way, every state in
the majority of people who receive abortion care are mothers. Where is that minority? Where are you? Are we shitting out babies as men? They're coming out the butt.
Dude, don't. Yeah, because genders aren't real anymore, so we have to.
And apparently, you can't hop a bus.
Caveats now.
You
just
can't
to cover her ass, because some transgendered person manages to have a baby, I don't know how, through claymation coming out of claymation butthole or something. And then we have to account for that because she identifies it as a baby. I'm not really sure the rules anymore.
I figured we needed a little bit more of a balanced platform, so I decided to bring a woman on.
Oh my God, I got a female in. What happened, John? You know, women are here?
I know, the whole thing's gonna just change now. Damn it. I thought it was other women. Dang.
Have you been following along, Torsha?
Yeah, I have.
Have you watched this on your own or no?
No, I have not.
Get ready for your brain
it's
to
all
rot.
The same shit. Is that was really anything substantial gonna come out of it?
Not yet.
Yeah,
it's just an episode of The View so far.
Yep.
Great.
Here we go. Let's go back to it.
The South, except for Virginia, has an abortion ban. Okay. So imagine she's in a state with an abortion ban. 1 out of 3 women are, by the way, in our country. And she's a mom. So she's going to have to figure out
So she's a mom. Let's keep that. I'm going to point out.
Talk faster. What the fuck? It's so slow.
It's on 1.2 speed as well. Cappy?
Oh my God.
All I'm going to say is she's going to have to hop a bus to the state lines?
Oh,
Get
no.
a buddy to give her a ride? What the fuck? This is why we have states' rights. This is why you can own guns and certain better guns in other states. Let me guess. She's going to a kid's going to cost this woman $200,000, but she can't afford the $40 Greyhound bus ride to go get an abortion over the Planned Parenthood across the state lines. What's the fucking crisis going to be? I want to hear what she's got to say.
Okay. Here we go. Listen, the description is hilarious. It's peak victimhood. So I'm going to rewind it so we get full context.
Okay. So imagine she's in a state with an abortion ban. 1 out of 3 women are, by the way, in our country. And she's a mom. So she's going to have to figure out, God help her if she has affordable childcare. God help her if she has paid leave. And then she's going to have to go to the airport, stand in a TSA line.
Instituted by the government.
Holy fuck.
Sit on a plane next to a perfect stranger.
You got to sit on a plane next to a stranger. All the humanity. What are we going to do? We need executive flights funded by the United States government to fly whores out to get abortions. I'm sorry. This is fucking retarded.
Flies? Can't you just fucking drive? Like, hang on, keep playing. I'm gonna look to see where, how many Planned Parenthood places there are. You don't need healthcare. You get one for free, for God's sake.
Gabriel hits. People believe the constitutional right to privacy should extend to abortion via Roe versus Wade, while also bashing one amendment that says shall not be infringed. Where's the logic? Well, you're looking at the wrong podcast. You're looking for logic. If they're appealing to female, this is all an emotionally manipulative statement. You have to stand in the TSA instituted by the United States government. You have to sit next to a stranger, just like everybody else on the planet who doesn't fly business class. Like,
to go to a city where she's never been to receive the care she needs. She's going to probably have to get right back on that plane because she's got those kids. Her best friend's probably not with her because that's who's taking care of the kids.
so she's a mother.
You're projecting. I
But
can't.
there's no dad around.
There's no dad.
No dad.
No dad. She's a single mother, apparently.
Men don't exist.
And she's out here getting pregnant by another dude. Where is that guy?
And then
Like,
a white guy came by and kicked her in the nuts just for shits and giggles. Fucking Christ.
To get back in that TSA line, to get back on a plane, to go home.
And that's all if they can even afford the plane ticket
Exactly.
or the bus ticket.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because when
Right.
Roe v. Wade was overturned, I remember my DMs were flooded with
Yeah.
thousands of women
Mhm.
begging me to help. And
Yeah.
it's overwhelming. And
help me close my legs. Please help me close my legs.
I can't even imagine. I'm saying that in front of you, but it's overwhelming. And I remember people begging me, like, I just need to afford a bus ticket so I can get
Yeah.
out of this abortion desert
Yeah.
that I live in the South, so I can get to a state. But they can't even, you know what I mean? So it's like these
No,
people
they
are
can afford it.
literally laying-
They can fucking afford that. They afford their fucking nails. They afford their fucking weaves. They afford the fucking nightclubbing and the booze. They afford the fucking gas. They can afford a $40 bus trip to save them $200,000 fucking dollars of raising a kid. I mean, Jesus, were they not just talking about agency?
I know.
Holy fuck.
My truth, IVF as a human right and abortion for all. Vote for Pedra.
landlocked into a position that they don't want to be.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing is that you don't have to abandon your faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government shouldn't be telling her what to do. If she chooses, she'll talk to her priest, her pastor, her rabbi, her imam, but not the government telling you what to do. And that's what's so outrageous about it is a bunch of these guys up in these state capitals are writing these decisions because they somehow have decided that they're in a better position to tell you what's in your best interest than you are to know what's in your own best interest.
Can we stop it
Like
right
what
here?
What's interesting is that
Hold on.
everything
Like the
else.
entire administration did with the vaccine mandates. Like,
Well,
you
for everything else,
demonize-
they interfere in everyone's lives except for this
demonize
one.
everybody who didn't take the vaccine. You called them the pandemic of the unvaccinated. What happened to my body, my choice? Unapplicable if you're a man. You got to take the vax. But then the same thing she just said, then this is why I'm trying to point out manipulation for you guys. So you don't get caught in the emotional storytelling and look at the actual logic of the situation. The vaccine mandates were the most draconian thing ever instituted in our lifetime as Americans, period. Exactly what she's describing. Some people in Washington saying you could do this or that. Okay. No. Cappy, you're going to say?
Here's a woman who majored in political science, who was a DA and running for the president of the United States, and they still don't stand states' rights. Not the whole point of the United States, one of the main governing pillars of the United States is they are states. They have their own separate government. And that way, it's called the Great American Experiment for a reason. So if you want to be a bunch of dick-sucking, douche canoe, incompetent assholes, you have California. You just have the world's dumbest laws. And if you want to be pretty cool, you be like South Dakota or Alaska, where you can, and then we can all do trial and error. And that way you can move the different states and places where your beliefs align best. And they don't get it. Like, oh my God, can you believe that the states have rights? Yeah, lady. So the federal government can't just get too powerful, although post-Civil War and all the different amendments, and don't mean to bore people with the history lesson. But I mean, I can't imagine she's that dumb. She doesn't know about state rights, but she does know the audience she's talking to right now does not understand one of those founding principles.
Actually?
Yeah, well, maybe she could be. You're not wrong, Paul.
Well, I'm saying I think you're right though. I don't think she's that dumb in that sense. I think the American people, her audience right now watching that show, they are that stupid though.
Yes, no, I know they are. Yeah, no, they don't understand. Yeah, but anyway, but go on, Jive. I'd love to see what comes next about having to sit next to stinky people on a plane.
It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. I mean, Daddy Gang, to put it in our TikTok terms, I have seen girls on the street walk up to men and be like, do you know where a tampon goes? Do you know how many tampons we use? Do you even know how, like, do you know what a X or Y or Z is of a part of our, and they don't know the answer.
I was the first vice.
I could go around and ask every woman, like, why do you suck at blowjobs? Why do the majority of you suck at blowjobs if that's all you're experienced to?
Do you know how to disassemble and clean a rifle? Do you know how to sight a scope? All does.
President or president to ever in office go to a reproductive healthcare clinic ever.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
To pander for votes.
Yes. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Who
But I guess
cares?
that makes sense.
To your point.
And yet the men are making the decisions.
And here's the other thing about this point, that it's about IVF treatments and access. It's about access to contraception, which is very much at risk.
That's right. We're gonna big pharma that controls our entire nation. Contraceptives are now at risk. We're gonna, the rest of the developed world, Japan, Korea, China, all of Europe have easy access to contraception, but that's in danger here as well. Trump is going to ban birth control. Got it.
With these folks, it is about, back to the point about reproductive health clinics. You know what those clinics also do? They do PAPs. They do breast cancer screenings. They do HIV testing. And they're having to close in many places with these bans. So think about the fact that for anyone who has gone to one of these clinics, you understand that it is sometimes the most trusted place where people receive that kind of healthcare, because they walk into those places that are generally staffed by people who create a safe place for people to come in without judgment. So anyone seeking any kind of reproductive health care and wanting to go to a place where they feel safe and without judgment, these clinics have often been the place that people can go. And many of them are having to close because of these laws.
John,
I
I
was raised
just looked
Catholic.
up Planned Parenthood. Do you know how many there are in the United States?
Oh, probably.
Clinics.
A lot.
Probably.
600.
There you go.
You can
Yeah.
find, you may have to go for a road trip, but you should be able to find it. And it is not the crisis they're making it out to be. This is the fucking topic they're talking about. We're talking about fucking abortion again. Like,
Yeah.
you got way bigger problems on the economic and simple infrastructure aspect
Yeah.
of the economy,
How about-
and
how
they're
about raising
still
kids that are
bitching
alive
about
right
fucking abortion. It's like, my God.
Well, here's the thing too. Interesting how disingenuous the conversation is, which the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade in 2022, while she's during the Biden administration. So
Yeah.
people should ask themselves, what have they been doing to combat this issue now? What bills have they proposed? What, anything? Hello? Nothing. They haven't, and they keep calling it Trump's, you know what I mean? It's Trump's abortion ban. Trump's not even like this massive pro-lifer to begin with, dude. Not, I mean, it is
He
what it
didn't
is.
ban
He's just
abortion. He
not.
kicked it down to the
You
states.
know?
That's how simple it is. If you're pissed off, take it up with the governors and the legislatures in those states. Or I don't know, catch a fucking bus and kill your baby. Or, you can make it a fucking event, ladies. You could go get an Airbnb and go wine tasting, because you're gonna kill the baby
Botox.
anyway. Drink as much fucking wine as you want.
Little
They can
Botox
come
and
out,
abortion
and then like
action.
you can top it off
Yeah.
with a big old abortion right by the county line.
Again, like I said, that's why I wanted to just point this out, because if you have any semblance of intelligence, this whole interview just comes off, in my opinion, as very disingenuous, and the audience has called them out on it. Like, the thing about, and this is I'm a digital marketer, right?
That's
The consumer is extremely at an all-time high of intelligence right now, and that's consumer of podcasts, that's consumer of politics. People are more educated now. I know it seems the opposite, but people are more educated now than they ever have been. So you can't have like these low-hanging fruit, low IQ lies and manipulation. Expect people just gonna, eat this up, hook, line, and sinker. It's just not the case. It's not the case whatsoever. Let's go back to this.
And abortion is a sin. And when I put out that episode, I had a lot of women reach out to me saying like, wow, I live in the South and I never thought about it that way. Like, maybe I am pro-choice because I won't get an abortion because of my religion,
right.
but why should we control what someone else wants
And
to
that's
do?
and what's interesting, Alex, to your point, what I'm finding as I travel, people who 2 years ago, before Roe v. Wade was overturned, people who felt very strong about that they are anti-abortion, are now seeing what's happening and saying, I didn't intend for all this to happen. And I think that's also why in state after state, so-called red states and so-called blue states, when this issue has been on the ballot, the American people are voting for freedom. Because ultimately it's about, look, this is not about imposing my thoughts on you in terms of what you do with your life or your body. It's actually quite the opposite. It's saying the government shouldn't be telling people what to do.
I think that, unfortunately,
The government shouldn't be telling people what to do.
They sure do
Vote
tell me
for
to give up.
Trump. Like, what the fuck?
They tell me to fork over 40% of my income so I can keep everyone's mistake alive. They probably should have gotten abortions, but I got to pay for their abortions, but should tell me what to do.
we have these real life names. We have these horrific moments that these people are losing their lives, right? We have a woman named Amber Thurman who died in Georgia because the abortion bans in that state, the doctors were too afraid to treat her. I know that you spoke to her family.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like?
It was heartbreaking, Alex. It was heartbreaking. Her mom and her 2 sisters. And so Amber was a young mother of a 6-year-old son. She was a medical assistant who was so excited because she was just getting on her feet.
Is the dad going to be mentioned for comment? Is the dad going to be mentioned at all in this story? Okay, good. Keep playing. All right. Just want to know.
So we have one woman who they're going to lead up to it, who has died by because she couldn't get an abortion, right? Okay, fair play. So I'm just going to show something. These are total criminals by conviction type of illegal immigrants in the United States. So this is fiscal year. So since she's been in office, so let's just do homicide. 3, 60, 62, 29, 27 year to date. Assault, domestic violence, battery. 200, 1,000 plus, 1,000 plus, 1,000 plus. Sexual offenses, the big thing they're talking about: 156, 488, 365. 284. Okay. Trafficking as well. If we want to talk about the drug issue, right? 386, 2,000 plus, 2,000 plus, 2,000 plus. Okay. These are criminal. These are crime done by non-citizens. So, but we're going to talk about one chick.
Out of curiosity, what happened? Did a surgery go wrong or something? And
they're going to explain.
Okay.
Right now.
All right.
Shout out to Yuri, $20 super chat. A-team in the house, dissolving, superficial, numbing, social programming, one stream at a time. That is a $20 to Paul's channel. Thank you so much for watching. Guys, go subscribe to Paul and Aaron and Torsha while you are at it.
She got her own apartment in a gated community with a pool that her son could play in. She got accepted to nursing school. She was, as described by her family, so excited, so ambitious, and she had plans. Then she found out she was pregnant, and she didn't want to go through with her pregnancy.
Just poof! Just found out she was the pregnancy god struck her with the dick lightning, and then there was a little baby inside her. Just poof! It happened. Fuck.
Living in Georgia, and she couldn't receive care there because she was past 6 weeks. And so she ended up going to another state, and because she was she couldn't get there on time. And because the other state had been so overwhelmed by all these women coming from all these southern states who couldn't get treatment in their own state, the window for her appointment had closed.
So she was late on top of it.
Just like to say, the appointments, you have to make it at a specific time, and if you miss it, you can't get into one for like months. So it's like you have to be there. It's not like, oh, you know what, I'll get some coffee beforehand. You have to be there. It's not like
so she should have been responsible and had agency to show up on this very important.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just these are, because when I got my vasectomy, could make sure I wouldn't accidentally get struck by the god of dick lightning. I showed up on time to make sure I didn't get no women pregnant. But this is just it's abortion. I don't know if it's that important.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Surgical procedure. She had medication, and basically went back home and then had some complications
from the medication, which she's not mentioning.
And went to the hospital because she was bleeding, and they delayed 20 hours before they treated her. Because here's the thing that's so messed up about this. Some of these people will say, well, but I do believe in exceptions. I believe that there should be an exception in terms of in the life of the mother. Okay, here, let's talk about this. This gets back to, again, practical application of policy. Okay, so you believe there's an exception that the person should receive abortion care if the life of the mother is at risk. You know what that means in practical terms? She's almost dead before you decide to give her care. What? So we're going to have public health policy that says a doctor, a medical professional, waits until you're at death's door before they give you care?
I don't.
That's outrageous. That any
There's something missing.
Here, you guys are smart, because this story was broken by Brett Cooper over there on the Daily Wire on her channel, and the woman had other complications that led to it. It was a myriad of things. It wasn't just pregnancy being too late that killed her.
Okay, so it's like George Fly. He was doped up on drugs and overweight, and it was in conjunction with that he died. So okay, so
here we go.
Anybody would be saying that is acceptable policy. So until everything that physically could happen to your body in terms of deterioration, only at the point that, oh, she might die, is she going to get care? Where is the humanity?
Epic break. Epic break.
How about women try not being whores? That's just me. Or you use birth control. I don't know. Am I being crazy?
Or be whores. Just
well, yeah. I mean, go get birth. Look, I was a whore. I was a whore. I slept with many women. I'm not just saying that to brag. I didn't get one pregnant because I couldn't afford to. I paid $1,200 to get a vasectomy. Damn sure I didn't. What can you girls not math? Like, get a tubal ligation. Go take your pill. Don't miss the pill. Don't miss your abortion appointment.
Condom. Like,
there's a lot of options. A lot of options. Well, here's the thing, though. It's so disingenuous. Very plain. Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's go with this, because we got about 13 minutes left.
This country right now is like, there are so many policies I could sit here and talk to you about, but Call Her Daddy has been rooted in supporting women and talking about women and lifting women up, because it is no denying. Yeah, lifting up their legs. Sorry, this is a podcast about girls being whores. Like, I'm not being facetious. Like, that's what the base is. This is a sexual degeneracy podcast for women. Like, if I could scroll through some of the episodes, it's not like this serious, big thing she's making up. It's like talking about sex stories. That we have always been underserved, and we are treated like second-class citizen to men, right? And I can see people, I get it. We're going to talk about the economy. We're going to talk about all this, but what is any of that good for if we're not even taking care of the people that are able to produce the next generation? Yeah. I do want to clarify something. In the debate, former President Trump claimed that some states are executing babies after birth. Can you just clarify?
That is not happening anywhere in the United States. It is not happening, and it's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie that he is suggesting that. Can you imagine? He is suggesting that women in their 9th month of pregnancy are electing to have an abortion. Are you kidding? That is so outrageously inaccurate, and it's so insulting to suggest that would be happening and that women would be doing that.
Well, didn't she say it was happening?
No, was it happening?
She was saying it did happen in the debate, like the one with her and Trump.
So she's saying that women would never do such a thing. But Cappy, you and I and Paul are old enough to remember about the whole partial birth abortion thing that was happening from 1983. And I'm going to put something on the screen that's a little graphic, guys. So if you're squeamish, turn away. But I'm going to show you exactly what a partial birth abortion is.
I wouldn't do that. YouTube going to come crashing.
Yeah, don't do it. You'll get in trouble.
Don't do that.
No, it's just a picture.
No, it's going to violate. Guarantee you, it's going to violate some term. Don't
listen.
Do it.
If it was like a 50-year-old single dad getting his head mashed by a sledgehammer, YouTube would probably let it happen. But this is a partial birth abortion, and it doesn't make women look good, and they're just not.
Well, it's not even that. It's about it's going to violate their violence.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
But my question, so this is where they lose me, because it's like, if you needed a medical thing and you also had an abortion or a complicated one, or the baby's fucked up, whatever it is, wouldn't you want the ability to do that? That's where they lose me, because it's like the solution doesn't match what they're talking about, unless I'm looking at it differently, which is probably.
No, you're not. You make perfect sense. But yeah, like, because she's saying women would never do that. So I'll just explain what a partial birth abortion is. It's after the baby has been in the woman for 16 weeks or longer. That's when it's considered. And then they partially take the baby out, and then they kill it, and then they kill it, and then they pull the baby out. And then that's how it was doing. And it was banned and made illegal in 2003 by Republicans. And that's just sent down the memory hole of American history for some reason. So,
yeah. Wow.
More hypocrisy, more manipulation, just pointing out these tactics to you guys at home so you know how not to get caught up in your emotions in situations.
And once again, it goes back to, I mean, if this is such a serious issue, all this stuff happened during her administration.
Yes.
So what efforts? It goes back to the economy too. Like, oh, I'm gonna revitalize the economy. All right, you've had about 4 years to do that with your partner. You know, that's sitting there in the presidential office. So, like, she's been in the administration. So, like, if you didn't do anything, what's going to be different now, right, versus the last 4 years? And
John,
and so it's really just a vote grab. They're just using and manipulate emotions.
I'm no economist. Maybe you three minds could tell me. Do you think with all the money one would spend on 21 million illegal aliens that we might be able to afford bus trips for all the women in the nation to get abortions within 5 years? You think that might be possible?
What's 21 million times 40? And then
there you go.
And divide that.
You girls could, I'm just pointing it out. They could have spent that money instead, but oh well. Yeah,
guys at home, look up partial birth abortion. It is seriously, like, I'll be straight up. I'm pro-choice. I don't give a shit what you do. Just leave me the fuck alone. But I think, like, partially giving birth to a baby that's 6, 7, 8 months old, and then you kill it is just like, okay, what are we as a people? Like, just
so the audience listening, I think most people, I mean, I'm not, but I'm pro-choice. I'm like, fine, go do your thing. It's not that. It's just the constant whining and, oh my God, It's like, knock it the fuck off already.
Okay, let's go back. We're the final 13 minutes.
It's not happening anywhere. This guy is full of lies. I mean, I just have to be very candid with you. You know, so in my career, from the time I got out of law school through most of my career as a prosecutor, I understood that the words that I spoke and what I did with those words would be the difference between whether somebody was charged with a crime or went to prison.
For smoking marijuana, mainly black guys who are abandoning you now.
Maybe go off the track record, not fucking words. Like, I can't do this shit.
Maybe prison for life.
For marijuana.
When I was attorney general, I was the top law enforcement officer of the biggest state in this country.
To send black men to jail. I just want to continuously reiterate that point. For marijuana.
You know what's funny?
She was strict.
It's true. It's fucking true. You know, like, she had other aspects to her career, but hey, can we agree this will be the first Karen president ever? I mean, I know it would be the first female president. This ain't going to be no fucking Margaret Thatcher. This is going to be a fucking Karen presidency.
Yeah. No, the world will get way worse. The world will get out of look. The rest of the world is sexist, and if they see a woman at the helm that's like having the largest gun in the world, which is America, and you hand it over to like a Karen, and then people are like, okay, we're just gonna sweep the legs and take the gun from her. Like, this is just fucking, like, this is, they don't. And if you live in Asia, if you've been to places, I live in Asia. I've been to places like Turkey. I've been to these really hyper masculine cultures. Like, they're not going to respect her. They will not respect her simply because she's a woman, straight up. And it is what it is. And who do you want to have representing us? I'm sorry, but this is a fucking retarded thing. Like, if you're going to be so worried about abortion, okay, like, then take extra care. I take extra care. I'm fucking, 0-300 for girls I've fucked and nobody's gotten pregnant. So like, if I could do this, then like, why do you understand how hard it is to get a woman pregnant too? It's not like, just a drop of sperm gets in there and you're like, oh, I'm pregnant. These girls are mutilating their body with alcohol and drugs and all these things on top of that. Like, it is not that easy to get a girl pregnant. It really is not. They're really like, and it's just a gigantic manipulation tactic when there are 21 million undocumented immigrants coming into the States. Our economy is in shambles. We're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. We're sending billions of dollars to Israel. We're sending billions of dollars to Taiwan. We're sending all this money everywhere. And then, but by the way, women, abortion. That's the number one thing. That's your pressing issue. Bread, $9 a loaf. Fuck it. Abortion.
You've seen that meme where it's like a donkey with his shirt off and he's jacked and he's got a bottle of booze and tattoos. It says Democrats. And there's an abused woman with a black eye. And he says, bitch, you ain't thinking of leaving me. And the woman says, as long as I can have abortions. And that's this fucking presidency going to be.
And I was acutely aware that the words I spoke could be the difference between whether a corporation was in business or out of business, that the words I spoke could move markets. The idea that someone is not only so careless and irresponsible and reckless, but out and out lies to create fear and division in our country.
Like what you're doing on this podcast right now.
So bold.
He should be president of the United States, standing behind the seal of the president of the United States, using the microphone that comes with that, and using that voice and those words in such an irresponsible, and that's mild, way.
She's literally tone policing. That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
I gotta get going. I my buddy needs to pick up now, but John,
Okay.
I'd like to thank you for causing me great pain and suffering. I appreciate the opportunity to come here and listen to an episode of The View.
Thanks, Dad.
Wonderful. And next time, I'm just gonna kick my own self in my nuts before doing this again. So
Right.
I will see you guys later.
See you, Cappy. Love you, buddy.
Bye.
Torsha, I didn't get to formally welcome you aboard. Thanks so much for being here, sweetheart. Tell me, what are your thoughts? I'm gonna pander as a woman, Torsha. What are your thoughts so far on what we're witnessing here?
I mean, it's just appealing to the emotional base. Like I'm glad to hear that there was backlash. I'm surprised to hear that. I didn't think people would. I thought they would feed right into it. So that's kind of nice. I guess that's hopeful for the future. But like you were saying, we're hard demographic to persuade. I think it's millennials in general. They're more skeptical or whatever. But yeah, those are my thoughts so far. It's all kind of just like a show. I don't know.
It's I mean, because I listened to this just for the sake of like, because a lot of guys can fall victim to female manipulation because it's just like women's special superpower, right? And I just wanted to like point this out to everybody who can like witness this and see with their own two eyes as we break it down. Like this is truly just like from start to finish. This is literally lies and manipulation.
Yeah.
So
100%.
It's
And
Paul, you can take the floor now because I wanted Cappy to get his time. So just go ahead and lay it down on us. Give us some psychology.
All right. So yeah, it is a lot of manipulation going on here. And we got to most
This is why this election matters.
are not paying attention that much. So like the fact that 2022, the abortion, Roe v. Wade was overturned, things went to the states, all this stuff happened during their administration. Nobody is paying attention to that. You know what I mean? And so there's little, like, this administration hasn't done anything, and they really don't they're not really going to do much about it, because they want to just use this issue in order to manipulate their voters, actually do anything to change it. Like, you know what I mean? Like to make a national pro-choice platform, and to make abortions legal, all that stuff. Like, I mean, they could push for that, but then they're going to get pushed back, and it's going to get a little messy, right? So like, they would rather just pretend and use this issue, and then hands off once elected. It's down to the courts, it's down to the thing. And so it's like almost like talking about, I don't know. It's the office of the presidency doesn't have much here of an effect in this issue. It's if they're not stepping in and trying to promote and push through legislation, which they're not, there really isn't much. It's going to be down to courts. You know what I mean? It's going to be down to Supreme Courts in Supreme Courts of states. So it's talking about stuff. It's just igniting people to try to vote or support a certain way over an issue that really they don't affect, where direct effect over things like military decisions, debt, economy, there's a direct effect there that affects everybody, children and women alive today, not just in the womb.
Like good husbands of like women who are happy at home. You know, now you gotta do shit to like send this motherfucker off to war. You know, and then the hypocrisy, like, you know, this is funny too. Real John F. Kennedy in chat says it's all funny. The Democrats who promote anti-white rhetoric ended up marrying white guys. AOC, Kamala, Omar, Tlaib. And it's funny. I always say, you know, radicalized in the streets, colonized in the sheets. You know, they just they can't fucking, you know, they're just the biggest hypocrites. Biggest fucking hypocrites.
There's so many things at stake right now, and one of them is to collectively say, you know what? Somebody who uses their voice and that microphone in that way should never be president of the United States.
I think, again, like, I'm not CNN, I'm not Fox. Like, I am a woman who is talking about her experiences on my podcast, and I have millions of women that tune in to connect with me and to connect with whoever is sitting across from me. And I want to pose this question more to you and the Daddy Gang, but one of the biggest conversations in this year's election revolves around a woman's body.
Yep.
No, it doesn't.
Oh my God.
No, they're just making it an issue so that they can do a vote grab. And so you'll notice that it's demographic vote grabbing, and it's through shaming tactics and through
I'll be right back. Hold it.
manipulation.
Hold it down. I'll be right back.
All right, cool. Well, I guess the camera's on me, so I guess I'll keep going. All right, so how this works, I was sort of breaking this down before. In, you know, guys fall to this manipulation so easily. Men are very easily manipulated. So like, if you're watching this and you're a dude, start paying attention to what's going on around you, not just politically, but with women in your life and stuff like that. Because the reason why these manipulation tactics are there is because they do work often, not all the time, but often. And it's because you guys let them work. Okay. So how this could kind of work, let's break this down a little bit, is you got the victim narrative. All right. Which is, I'm a woman and I have to overcome all this adversity as a woman in order to succeed in things. And then it's a plea to men to remove these obstacles that are unfair. What's not being recognized, of course, is that life is hard and there are obstacles for pretty much most people. I mean, there's about that 1 or 2% that came from a wealthy family or whatever, had a lot of privilege, but 98%, maybe 99% have had adversity to overcome. Women have adversity to overcome. Men in different scenarios have had adversity to overcome. Adversity is part of life, right? But it's this idea of removing these obstacles that through the system in order to make things more fair. And on the Democrat side and more of the feminist side, it's a plea to make things fair through who? Men. Now, men are, we're saying, you know, more, especially men who are more centrist, men who are more on the left, they start working to try to remove these unfair obstacles. Well, what it ends up doing is it ends up skewing things and making it easier for a demographic to do better, usually at the expense of somebody else, right? And guys will feel better about themselves fighting for that cause. Not every guy, but half the guys out there, because half the guys are voting Democrat, right? And so they're going to feel better about themselves because they feel like they're doing something to care for women out there and to care for children by removing these obstacles, making things fair. But what they're actually doing is creating additional obstacles for other people. And so it ends up being unfair by removing these obstacles, because the idea of removing these obstacles might be affirmative action policies, for example. That's obviously an unfair policy, but that those things happen, those things get in play. And so in saying things, you know, that, well, we need to do more for women's rights, we need to fight more for this, which usually means at the expense of other demographics, particularly men, maybe different minority groups, whatever. But what the Democrats have done historically, for at least since Obama, is they've been able to target victimized groups and say,
Yes.
you guys have unfair adversity, so we need to support the victimized groups to overcome this adversity. And so they pick apart, you know, votes from the system by appealing to these different victimized demographics, whether it's Black or Hispanic or, you know, immigration issues, whether it's women as a whole demographic, right? And unfortunately, because most people are not paying attention and are not that smart, unfortunately, there's a lot of people not that smart, they fall for it, they go for it, you know what I mean? And they think, and nothing actually happens. Like, there's
Never
nothing right.
Never does.
Like, I mean, it's not necessarily better for these demographics in a lot of different ways. In some ways we could argue that it is, but I mean, I'd say, you know, it's actually worse for everyone. When you have a 20% inflation rate in 4 years with 25% on groceries and consumer goods, that is not good for everybody. You know what I mean? But they're going to say, hey, you know what? Women, we got your back. We're going to help you out. Going to let you have all the abortions you want. Hey, you know, this target group, we're going to help you out here. We're going to help you out there. But then they actually don't do anything about it. And the main things that would help every demographic, like the economy and military decisions, those don't get focused on. Those don't really get made. And there's a lot of corruption there too. But anyways, I'll kind of, you got to see this for what it is. A lot of guys, they live to feel good about themselves by saving some girl. Like, that is their bullshit. That is what all you dudes, fucking half you guys listening right now, you're fucking guilty. You're guilty. You're doing it in your life right now. There's some woman you're trying to save from herself. And it's insulting, first of all, because I think women are capable of making their own choices. You know, you don't need to fucking save them from anything. And they also know what they're doing. You don't need to try to explain shit, save shit, throw resources at it, this and that and the other. All you do is create more dependent people when you do that, right? But you guys can't get over that vasopressin reaction in the neurological centers of your brain to make you want to, I got to save her, I got to help, I got to do this. And you know what? I'm going to vote for the first woman president because she's going to do this for women and minorities, you know. No.
Let me just say something too to add on top of that. Right? Guess what city this is in America, or in the world rather?
California.
Yeah. Either California or Chicago, I'd guess, but
California.
California,
They're
yeah.
starting fires and shit in San Francisco, I think. Is that San Francisco?
Close. Los Angeles, where Call Her Daddy girl is.
Shit.
Yeah.
Very close. Congratulations, you win.
Dude, we had
Torsha.
that event and I was stayed out in San Francisco area, right? Like, or San Diego. Sorry, was it San Diego?
Yeah.
San Diego.
San Diego.
Man, such a beautiful, like, because I'm staying in the Airbnb off the beach. So beautiful for me and the chick I had at the time. But guess what? Like, you're stepping over homeless people. That is fucking crazy, man. I'm not from the West Coast. So that was just a crazy. I'm like, where?
That's why you're on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I hide out in the woods up in Michigan somewhere so people can't find me. That's what I do.
Here we go. Paul, there's another reason I brought you on the podcast. They're going to dive into it right now. I'm going to make a point.
I want
All
to take a moment.
Mhm.
And can we try
Mhm.
to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision
I know what you're gonna ask.
about a man's body? Let's just
No.
pause.
No.
Okay, so Paul, as a member of the United States military, would you like to give us a rebuttal on that one?
Well, there's a little something called the draft. So, I mean, I don't know.
Don't you have to notify? Don't you have to notify your wife if you want to get a vasectomy? You have to get like a written thing for the doctor for lawsuits.
Really?
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't
it's
know.
different now, but it is
Well, that
like
could
a
be
thing.
a state
It's not
thing,
a
right?
law. It's not a law, but it is something.
A divorce thing? Like, would that be used
It's like
against somebody in divorce?
if I was a guy and I wanted to get a vasectomy behind my wife's back, it's technically like doctors won't do it. You have to get a written consent for like damages in
way.
case. Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. I haven't heard of that.
It blows
It
my
wouldn't
mind.
surprise me, though.
So,
Yeah.
but going back to what they just said, like, there's like no law that controls a man's body. Like, if we go to war, I have to go die.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am legally obligated from a statistical standpoint to go and fucking die. If I'm Johnny No Training, if I'm somebody like, fucking random guy on the internet, I work at 9 to 5. I like to play racquetball on the weekends, like, okay, well, you gotta go die.
Well, and how about this, though? So they have, she talked positively about having, women's shelters and stuff for women who are abused and who have to escape a bad situation. I support that. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But how many guys are zeroed out and become homeless or become a slave to a system because of an adversarial court system, depending on what state they're in, due to family court, due to false allegations, due to, all kinds of stuff? How many guys get, well, we could call it pregnancy graped, right? Like where she's like, no, I'm on the pill. Oh, by the way, I'm pregnant. Oh, by the way, you're paying me money now. Like, I mean, these things happen. They happen all the time. I don't know of a single man's shelter for guys who get zeroed out or run into that circumstance. I don't know very many, or if at all, you know what I mean? And I know there's a lot of guys in that circumstance. We can look at the rates of dudes offing themselves and when they usually choose to do that. Now 75 and older is a high rate for men. But I think the next one is guys who are, the demographic is guys who've gone through divorce, who are between ages of 40 and 60 is like one of the highest demographics for successfully killing themselves. And that's 4 to 1, in comparison to women. Not that it's a contest, but my point is, it's like
we're losing in that too. Just throwing it out there.
We're winning the contest. We're killing ourselves way more, dude. We always dunk on women, bro.
They also say,
you know what I would do? Kill myself.
I think one of the things is like because I also have my undergrad in psychology, and what I read was that the majority of women who do it, it's more of like a cry for help rather than an actual,
that's true. Apparently, so it depends.
Men use more lethal methods.
Right.
So I think we just suck at it. I don't think it's like a cry for help. I don't know.
You've been the only honest woman on the screen since you've showed up. So
thanks.
Is
there any law?
No. It's no. Look, we are a work in progress. But here's one of the many things I so love about our country. Part of the strength of our country and our evolution as a country has been through the fight for the expansion of rights. Not the restriction of rights, but the expansion of rights. And we still have work to do. But I say that work is born out of love of country. And it's hard work, but it's good work and it's important work. And that's what's before each of us. And I think that, you know, around election time, but every day, back to the conversation that we've been having about power, the beauty of a democracy is that we each as individuals have the power to weigh in on this stuff. And around election time, it's through your vote. And, you know, and if you're interested, the ability to organize your friends and family around what you care about that's on the ballot. But this is the beauty of a democracy. We each have the power to weigh in on this. And I say to everybody, however you vote, don't let anyone take your power from you.
I want to ask you a question because
Like we did in 2021 with all of the draconian, we took your jobs, all the nurses that got fired, all the people in the military who lost their job, who didn't take, you know, the jab. Again, if you just have one iota of intelligence in you and you critically look at this, it's just ultimately gigantic, just massive cringe, super massive cringe.
Well, people have their emotional buttons though, and that's the issue. Like all right, so like somebody could be like completely objective, right? And they're handling things, they're whatever, making objective choices, and they sound real reasonable. And then you hit their hot button, like whatever that button is. Like maybe it's like, you know, I don't know, maybe it's a guy who went through a really bad divorce and he's really negative against women, right? Or just that, like, he's got that negative rage thing going on, right? And then you say something like generally positive about women. And then he's like, oh no, you know, and all of a sudden, this guy who's real objective, all of a sudden you press that button and now he's on an emotional tirade, right? And so like this is kind of what this is. The strategy is looking for people's emotional hot buttons. There's a lot of women out there who are pretty objective and are like, you know, the economy sucks right now. I just don't know if I want to vote for the Democrats. They've been eating, you know, we've been eating shit for the last fucking almost 4 years now. I don't know that I want to do this. But she's really, you know, passionate about the abortion issue, and she doesn't want the government telling her what to do with her body. And some of those reasons that we could say are reasonable, that women take, you know, an interest in the issue. She jumps on this little podcast, presses that button, and now it's that woman's like, oh, you know what? She's right. And yeah, Trump is not, you know, doesn't support this issue. And this is like, they just fall, like they lose all logic and they go with that little emotional button, and then and then it works, and they deal with it. And this is how they've been winning, is they target these focus groups, if you will. And usually this is why they call it identity politics. They target an identity, they press that button, and then if you're a part of that identity and you're emotional about it, they lose all semblance of logic and they vote based on that one button that got pressed. It unfortunately works. Unfortunately, this is how the Democrats win shit. Yep. So I don't have a solution to it, but this is what they're doing. You know,
well, there's hope. There's hope at the end. I specifically wanted to bring up that part where she's like, is there a single law that controls a man's body? And it's just like, oh my fucking God. Like every law controls all of our bodies. You know, if you drink alcohol outside in America, in like most states, you go to jail. You know, in Japan, you could walk with beer anywhere. You could like walk with a fucking shrine. You could walk, not all shrines, but you could like walk outside. You could drink a beer on the fucking train. You know, they sell alcohol 24 hours, you know, but it's just another way to, because everybody thinks they're free in America. But if you like,
stop paying the government, stop paying taxes, and let that see, and then and ignore the mail, ignore all the warnings, ignore all the eventually somebody with firearms is going to knock on your door and take your ass.
That just woke up my dog. Oh my God.
Sorry, dog.
Again, in speaking about women, there has been a very big fixation on biological children, stepchildren, women that have children versus women that don't have children. It's like a huge point somehow of this entire election, right? I saw the governor of Arkansas said, "My kids keep me humble." Unfortunately, Kamala Harris doesn't have anything keeping her humble. How did that make you feel?
Let's talk about feelings.
Who cares? She understands.
Yeah, exactly.
And that there are a whole lot of women out here who, one, are not aspiring to be humble. Two,
I kind of
a
like
whole lot
that.
of women out here who have a lot of love in their life, family in their life, and children in their life. And I think it's really important for women to lift each other up. You know, I'll tell you, Alex, one of the things that I have really enjoyed about where the discussion has gone, one of the places it's gone, we have our family by blood, and then we have our family by love.
Aww.
So
Okay.
it would
You
be
guys
nice
are
if,
my family by love, both of you. I love you both. My family by love.
well,
Aw.
it would be nice if, you know, what's interesting is I just think it would be, I mean, women in general, even who are passionate about the abortion issue, should be insulted about this kind of stuff. When someone panders to me and, like, you know what I mean,
get
is just
offended.
trying to, like, tell
I
me
get
shit I
offended.
want to
I'm
hear to
like, don't
manipulate me.
fucking pander.
I'm like,
Yeah.
you think I'm stupid? You know what I
Don't
mean? That's
fucking
my
me.
reaction. Is like, I'm not an idiot. I know what you're doing. How come
Like,
that's not everybody else's reaction? I don't
like I'm technically I'm technically a minority, and when people are like minorities are just these dumb brown people who can't get it together, I'm like, fuck you. I don't need your fucking pity. I am the fucking man. The color of your skin doesn't fucking matter that much. What matters is what you do with your fucking life. Period. Period. There's fucking rich black people. There's rich white people. There's rich Asian people. There's rich fucking sand people. Whatever your fucking taste of fucking the rainbow you want to be. Your life is a direct representation of the decisions you make. Man, woman, gay, straight, zer, whatever your fucking pronouns are, you cannot escape that accountability. And just to be pandered to, like, you know, it goes like when I have, now that I have so many haters, I love it because, you know, it goes back. I've been saying this all week. Arnold Schwarzenegger said this. He says, everybody pities the weak. Jealousy, you have to earn. You have to earn people's hatred. And I fucking love it. You know, so no, I don't like the pandering is just so pathetic. It's so pathetic. It just, I don't know, you know, and then everything about, I'm a marketing expert. Okay. Everything about this makes me sick. The you can see behind here, the Starburst in this fucking jar here, the fucking Sour Patch Kids in this jar here. That's just sitting around in the White House. No, Los Angeles here for people to see. Oh, she's from LA. Like, oh my God, like we're all just big fucking faggots out here. You know, just it's infuriating. It's infuriating. But again, I'm going to show you some hope at the end. This is a gigantic white pill. So stay tuned. We got 8 more minutes of this. And everybody's asking me, like, why are they speaking so slow? That's a part of the manipulation too. This is at 1.25 speed. That's
crazy.
This is sped up.
Wow.
Actually, let's go to 1.3, see how it changes anything.
And I have both. And I consider it to be a real blessing. And I have 2 beautiful children, Cole and Ella, who call me Mamala. We have a very modern family. My husband's ex-wife is a friend of mine, you know, and also I'll tell you, look, I'm a child of divorced parents. And when I started dating Doug, my husband, I was very thoughtful.
Getting down to the core issues here.
and sensitive to making sure that until I knew that our relationship was something that was going to be real, I didn't want to form a relationship with the kids and then walk away from that relationship. My own experience tells me that, you know, children form attachments and you really want to be thoughtful about it. And so I waited to meet the kids, and they are my children, and I love those kids to death. And family comes in many forms, and I think that increasingly, you know, all of us understand that, you know, this is not the 1950s anymore. Families come in all kinds of shapes and forms, and they're family nonetheless.
It's a big conversation I have on my show because I also know there are a lot of people that, you know, don't have the ability to even have a relationship with their blood families, right? Whether it's through death.
Daddy
That's
issues.
That's a personal problem. Like, what are they talking about?
Daddy issues, let's be honest. Daddy issues.
Or abuse or boundaries that are being set.
Absolutely.
Like, it is more common these days for people to know what boundaries are in the first place because of the conversation around mental health and to choose family and to choose people that lift them up. And I think it is a very big conversation. I want to just say for the daddy gang of like, you should not feel ashamed for whatever you call your family. A family is a family and a family is a family.
That's exactly right. I think that's absolutely important because, again, I think there's so many forces that come in very different ways that are just trying to make people feel small and alone.
I know that we all saw obviously Taylor Swift's like sign out on her Instagram, and
more issues, pressing issues. Taylor Swift's Instagram is the next biggest thing here. Got it.
I wanted to address Donald Trump's VP pick, JD Vance, called women who don't have kids childless cat ladies. What message do you think this sends to women who cannot conceive or just don't want kids?
I just think it's mean.
I think it's fucking funny.
It's just a fucking joke. Oh my god.
If women are gonna brag,
mean.
Childless cat ladies.
if women are gonna endlessly brag about how they are the sole life bringers into this planet, then do your fucking job, because the population of America is not growing at all. Like that, if you want to brag about that, like are we bragging about the fact that we can kill the babies, or we brag the fact that we can have the babies but we're not having the babies? Now childless cat ladies an insult. Like, where are we in all this? Because there's no congruency across any of their arguments or anything, and that's why it's all fake, it's all gay, it's all clown, it's all clown show, it's bread and circus. It's just that's all this is. So again, when I point this out, the reason I'm pointing this out again is for guys to identify manipulation quicker, faster, because the whole reason that America and the West is in this dating debacle at the end of the day is because men are allowing it. Period. Period. If every man didn't simp,
Torsha wants to push back on that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I would say like the economy and well, yeah, I guess it is still that. I don't know. I feel like if men had the resources, they could actually push back. But because they're kind of in the ground, I don't think they have the resources to do it.
But
So,
I mean, I'm gonna, I'm not being combative, but I want to just say, like, okay, if every guy stopped simping, you underestimate the degree of how many men are simping on a day-to-day, even with their behavior, tolerating shitty.
That's a true statement.
Yeah.
Tolerating shitty behavior from somebody. Look at OnlyFans, multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
Inception in 2020. You know how rare it is for a company to become a multi-billion-dollar company in 4 fucking years?
Yeah.
That's the degree of simping. If guys stop, it's all men's fault. This is all men's fault. Any guy who says, "Oh, it's not my fault," shut up.
No, I don't know. I get it. But I think that we're socially engineered. I think we're controlled more than we think we are. I think the media controls us. Facebook controls us, all that shit. So when we talk about like these issues, OnlyFans, for instance, that needs a collaborative effort. That needs like OnlyFans to also say, hey, we don't think this is good. Unfortunately, they don't want to, they'll say, no, you're taking away my money. And they're like, well, you're just being a whore. And it's until you can get down to it and be like, hey, this isn't good for how I perceive you as a man and whatever you want to do, then it's like not going to change. I don't know. I think we're more controlled than we think, and we have to control the environment in order to put us in the right direction. Oh, yeah.
I think that is true, what she's saying there, because I talk about this a lot in my coaching groups when it comes to programming, right? And deprogramming yourself from other people's narratives. So, I mean, everybody else out there, whether it's whoever's advertising to you, I mean, it's all an advertising. This whole thing we're watching right now is an advertisement. You know what I mean? Entertainment is a form of advertisement. They're all giving you a narrative that helps them, that benefits them. They're not giving you a narrative that benefits you. Now, it could benefit you or it could not benefit you, right? You have to choose what benefits you. You have to choose what direction you want to go. You have to find your identity outside of all this programming that is out there influencing us, And part of what I did with the government is dealing with influence, right? Now, mine was more on an operator side, so that was face to face, talking to a bad guy, getting him to like me to tell me things he shouldn't, right? That's that kind of stuff. But they do it. It's done on a PR level and on a marketing level, which is something I'm not, as skilled as I am as the individual operator stuff, right? But the point is, it's there, and it's all just chaos and people trying to benefit themselves. And sometimes it's a win-win, you know, like I'm gonna grow my business by providing a product or whatever that helps people, that people want to buy. That's a win-win, right? But a lot of times it's not necessarily a win-win, or it's what's called mutual gain, where you're getting this much and other people are benefiting, you know, this much, way more than what you're actually getting out of it. And this is how men, where men are in control to a degree, where, John, you're not completely wrong either, is that guys have this ability to get resources and to make decisions for themselves and do well. But what their programming is designed for is to try to have mating opportunity and to try to, you know, bring people into a social circle that we could call a tribe, because that's how we evolved, right? And then to offer those resources and protection for those members. And so this is how people can be very tribal. But guys now, because they want mating opportunity, and because the ways in which we got mating opportunities in the past, which may or may not have been good depending on what was going on, right, are no longer available. What is available is convincing and appealing to somebody else. And this is where, like, Rollo Tomassi talks about the gynocentric social order, right? That's what this appeal to the feminine in order to get needs and wants met. And so when guys are doing that, they're essentially simping, right? And that's driving a lot of decisions to driving a lot of economic decisions. And then, of course, as Torsha, you're saying is true, people are capitalizing on that. Oh shit, if I can get guys to simp and spend their money, guess what I'm going to advertise towards, right? Guess what my marketing is going to appeal to. So I think it's a complex mix of all these things put together, really. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like me and Torsha were arguing like brother and sister, and Paul set us down like dad. He's like, actually, you're both right.
Yeah.
I'm hard on guys, and I see it because I've been putting out, and this is not a dig at anybody, okay, but I've recently started sampling data from a lot of the guys in my community. I'm like, what are you struggling? What's going on? And I didn't realize how many guys are addicted to pornography and that are using prostitution and escort services. And that kind of stuff needs to stop. I'm going to say, because as men with society, the buck stops with us. And even the men in control are doing this, as the big guys at the top are doing this. I'm just saying that a lot of female bad behavior is happening because of men not standing up and saying, hey, don't talk to me like that. Don't do this.
Because it works, right? So like they're doing what works. People, even if it's unhealthy, even if it is long-term bad, you know what I mean? Like somebody with an alcohol addiction, for example, decides to bury their problems in alcohol. It works temporarily. Now it's destroying their life on the back end, of course, right? It's a bad decision, but it's serving some sort of need in that moment. And so when you see all this stuff, I mean, it's because it works, and they shouldn't do it, but guys shouldn't put up with it either. And so this is where you have to, and when I say don't, put up with it, guys have a default mode, which is to put up with a bunch of shit, create a prison for themselves with their jobs and their girlfriends or wives and the thing they put around them, put up with a bunch of stuff, and then lose their shit at one point, hit a tipping point, lose their mind, you know what I mean? And they go bang the secretary or punch her in the face or pack a bag and disappear, or like this is the stuff that,
and it reinforces itself too.
And so what Torsha said is right too. Like there are so many societal traps for these guys to fall into that they don't even know that they're supplicating all this bad behavior. She's 1,000% correct with that. And it is hard, but at the same time, like the reason why things are like a lot of girls, like I'm when I have to go back to America, right? And I like just deal with the population. You know, especially on these shows, like a lot of these shows that I go on, like a lot of these girls, they have never had a guy push back on them. And then they automatically think, oh, he's pushing back. He must be. I'm agreeing with you, Torsha.
I'm crazy.
It's okay. You're great. You're great. You're great.
It's okay.
But like, you know, when guys like push back, a lot of girls, they're so used to never getting any pushback that when they get pushback, they label it a form of oppression. They're just like, you are, you know, then the name coming calls, you know, you just hate women. You're just this, you're just that. Cause they've gone through life in a kind of an echo chamber, an echo bubble, you know, and just like,
Yeah, a lot of for sure.
like,
Wait, but yeah, on dates, they're like, well, he just agreed with me too much. Or like, I want a guy that doesn't agree, who's not like, there's a
Right.
different word they use. It contradicts itself. It's like sometimes we want to hear, sometimes we don't. And it's like, so where's the line? It's the feelings. It depends. And it depends for every woman. So then now we're dealing with like a fucking garbage can of just, are we supposed to just go based off of feelings? It bothers me. I think we'll figure it out though. I used to be really nihilistic, but I think with men's input, even though they probably don't want to, but with their input, I think we can fix this issue of relationships.
it's
And
the only way we're going to fix it. I think, well,
Yeah.
I say this all the time and kind of jokingly, like because of men, like what we've been doing with, you know, the kind of the masculine revolution that's been happening, I call it the masculine renaissance. Like the, you know,
Yeah.
say what you say about Fresh and Fit, Andrew Tate, all these guys, these guys, you know, we are making a change in the culture. And like I said, like jokingly, but like women are literally getting back in the kitchen and like making it cool on TikTok. Like I'm a trad wife. Like here's me baking bread and stuff. Like it's cool to be a feminine woman again. And like the whore archetype is dying off. Like statistically speaking, like people are having less sex now as well on top of that. So
That's because they're socially awkward, even the girls.
yeah, that too.
That's
Easy.
why. You know?
No,
And that's why.
I was recently, I met a
Yeah.
girl in Miami that like, she was really into me. And, you know, I was just like, you know, I live in Japan. I'm this, that, you know, but she was down. She's a Zoomer. She's 19. And like, even her, like I was dealing with her. I'm like, God, she's like fucking socially, really, really, really socially awkward. Like, you know, they don't know how to communicate. But I've also noticed is like the Zoomer girls are way more feminine, in my opinion, than like the crazy ones on TikTok they're that. But I've noticed that the Zoomer chicks are way more feminine. What were
that
you
means they feel safe though. Like that's a good thing when I hear
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
of
I don't
course.
think that's bad. Yeah.
No, I don't want no manly bitch around. No, I love feminine women. No,
Yeah, but they were predicting that group of girls would be like anxiety to the max to the point where they wouldn't leave the house. So if you're saying that, oh, they're more feminine, I'm like, well, that's good. I wasn't expecting that.
There's an inherent anxiety that comes with femininity, though. I think,
Yeah, that's
a
true.
little bit, right? So,
They always
I mean,
think, yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of goes hand in hand. Maybe it's had some good consequences, but I don't know. I think.
I want to wrap up the last 6 minutes here.
Oh, yeah. We're not even doing this. Okay.
Just when you think it doesn't get worse, it does.
And I think that most Americans want leaders who understand that the measure of their strength is not based on who you beat down. The real measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up.
The dramatic pauses are hilarious to me. Mic drops.
Almost 1 in 4 Gen Z and millennials say they don't want to have kids because it's too damn expensive. How are you going to help young people not feel left behind?
So first of all, it's a very real issue and we need to take it seriously. And I do take it very seriously. So there are a number of issues that contribute to that feeling.
21 million undocumented immigrants coming in and taking jobs and lowering the cost of labor.
Making housing like cheaper for people that can't afford it. Like in general.
Taking up that, you know, that's the real cause of the housing issue. You know, it's illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
You know,
one is housing is too expensive. and we need to increase the housing supply. So part of my plan is to work with home builders in the private sector to create tax incentives to build, by the end of my first term, 3 million more housing units.
They literally can't afford it. Why are you going to get them a fucking house they can't afford? It triggers me. I'm like, please don't vote for this woman.
And then on top of it, again, why didn't you start this 3.5 years ago? Oh, we were opening the border to 21 million illegal immigrants. I think some of these people that are so blindly Democrat and stupid that are just overlooking this, it's going to take like an immigrant, like an undocumented criminal immigrant, which they are coming in en masse, to kill somebody in their family for them to finally like snap out of it and be like, oh, but too bad your mom's dead, or like too bad your fucking sister's dead. You know. Yeah. Like, why is like,
I bet you if she were to get in office, just hypothetically, I bet you everything that goes wrong, she's going to blame it on Biden. $100.
Oh, yeah.
He hates her. He
hasn't done it yet. She hasn't done it strategically yet, in my opinion, because it's like that says more on you. You know, you're there for every decision,
and she hid this man's dementia for 3.5 years as well.
Justice for Biden. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Second piece is $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers.
Shoot, man.
Because
which will just raise the prices of houses by 25.
Literally.
Issue
that's why people aren't having
being
kids.
a homeowner.
Yep.
Is just having enough to actually put that down payment down, right, to get your foot in the door. The other piece of it is we need to give tax credits and really understand that middle class and working people need a break. And so part of my plan is to give 100 million more people who basically are middle class working people tax cuts, including for young parents.
Middle class people.
You can't buy my love. I'm not doing it. You can't.
Again, the tax cuts. How about you fucking stop taxing the shit out of everybody? Just so you can send all the money to Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, they found out that the Pentagon was accidentally sending $200+ million a year to the Taliban. They found it was a clerical error. It's like, oh, sorry, just forgot to carry the one on that one. No.
Like, what? I hate it here.
Tax cut for the first year of their child's life, which helps them buy a crib or a car seat.
They're not having kids. I can't. Sorry.
First half of the podcast, we're talking about murdering your babies, but this last 6 minutes, we're going to talk about, you know, giving you tax credit to buy a crib.
For who?
An important and critical stage of their child's development.
I have a lot of listeners that are fresh out of college, right? And they were told, obviously, their student loans would be forgiven, and now they are drowning in student debt. What do we say to those people?
Don't go to college.
Agency. What do I tell to those people that out of their own free will and agency went out, took a bunch of loans, majored in the dumbest possible shit ever, and now are fucked? What do we tell those people?
It's like, you don't have to pay for it. We got you. Like, it's so fucked up. I can't.
Now, because I'm going to show you something. Okay, so I have the okay, so here's the difference, okay? Because they're all just, you know, endlessly jerking off women. So I pulled this up, okay? These are the most popular bachelor's degree for men and then for women. So men is business administration, management, useless. Accounting, useful. Biology, useless. Finance, useful. Mechanical engineering, very useful. Psychology, useless. Ask me how I know. Economics, relatively okay. Political science, useless. Marketing, registered nurse, very, very, very useful. Okay. Women, nurse, number one. Psychology, useless. Business admin, useless. Biology, useless. Accounting, good. English language, useless. Elementary education teaching from a financial standpoint, useless. Multi-interdisciplinary studies, aka I went to college to get fucked and use drugs and party the entire time. Okay. Speech, communication, and rhetoric, social work. Okay. Sorry, but you're if we're gonna have a free economy, you need, and you want to make the choices you want to make, you have to deal with the consequences that come with it. Okay. Women hold okay, sorry. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
That's the attitude, though, isn't it? That's the attitude. They're like, no.
Yeah. You know? It's so cringe. And then women hold a crippling amount of student loan debt. And let's be honest, dude, a lot of these girls, they are in their fucking YOLO phase. They're like, fuck it, I'll just take out a bunch of loans. I'll think now. And then they get a really nice apartment. They get riddled in debt. I know a chick that was 2 years, and this was when I was 19. So that was like, what? Jesus Christ, 2004, 2005. I'll never forget. Her name was Michelle. She had huge tits. She was, I was dating her for a bit. She was a couple years older than me. She was 2 years into nursing school. She had a 1.9 GPA. She was partying all the time. And she was $100,000 in debt. That is in 2005, 2006.
No way.
And I was just like, I just asked her, I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I don't know. They just gave it to me and I'm just using it.
Dude. It's like the one thing I have going for me. I might be getting old, but at least I don't have debt. Like, holy fuck.
I paid off my student debt and I actually paid off more. And I just haven't got around to it. But I paid off like $4,000 more. Government hasn't sent me a refund. They are just like, fuck it. You know, take it. You know, we're going to send it to him. We're going to send it to the Taliban. You know, so fucking but now begging for student loan forgiveness, which is also just, okay, so now we're socialism. Now we're communism, you know? So here.
We are fighting, and I'm going to continue to fight for student debt relief. I mean, student loan debt is a huge issue. And to your point, it's a barrier to people being able to even think about starting a family, buying a home. And it's
Which
just
they can't do because of 20% inflation.
And 21 million undocumented immigrants coming in and taking up the houses, driving up the prices. You know, on top of that, too, student loan debt is not like they don't seize your assets. They don't seize anything. So it's not stopping anything. What's stopping them is getting the majority of women are getting a degree in multidisciplinary studies. I'm sorry. What are we doing?
Communications.
What are we doing with these degrees? Go be a fucking engineer. Go be a doctor. Go be a nurse. You know, you have all this marching and parading about how amazing women are, right? But then
easy.
they are. Then if you look at their decisions and then you try to blame society and then want the government to pick up the bill, the government's only going to say, yeah, we'll do it. You know, they said that at the beginning of 2020. Did it happen? 4 years? No. But she's like, oh, we've been working on it. Okay.
We're going to be dead. Like, goddamn. Yeah.
So this guy cracks me up. Kamala is a shit choice, but Trump is 10 times worse. This guy uses tampons. Sorry, Torsha, but that's just I can't even consider how retarded this guy is in real life to even write that. Why are you even watching this? Are you like, is this your hate porn? I mean, look at this guy, anti-theist. Okay, you're just the smart atheist. You got it all figured out, pal. God, I mean, I'm just gonna ban you so you can just get the fuck out of here. I'll make your life easier. You're banned for life. Go fuck yourself.
Part of the work that we've done is that when I've been vice president has been to forgive student loan debt for millions of people by this point. I think over 5 million, including doubling the amount of student loan forgiveness for public servants like nurses and teachers and firefighters.
It got denied.
It did.
What are we talking about? Like, what the fuck? Like, I can't. Sorry. I'm impulsive.
But we have to do more. Debt is a big issue. The other piece that I've been pushing for is helping people in terms of medical debt not being on their credit score. Because, you know, if you rack up debt because you have medical bills and it can be used against your credit score, which is going to impact your ability to get an apartment lease or a car loan or a small business loan.
I mean, I think that I know we don't have that much time to go into all of this, but I think the biggest problem for people right now that I'm finding that when I'm reading online with all these young people is people are so frustrated and just exhausted with politics in general. People feel they don't feel incentivized to vote because they feel like politicians are essentially like over-promising, under-delivering. Why should we trust you?
So I'll say this. Look, you can look at my career to know what I care about.
Locking black money.
What she cares about, not what she's done. Yeah. Like, I can't do it.
What does she care about? I'm going to say it. 21 million undocumented illegal immigrants coming into America as the borders are, because she's controlled by a cabal. She's Kabbalah. She's controlled by cabal. And the reason why they're letting all those illegal immigrants in and flying them in and everything is because business owners are saying, I'll pay you XYZ per head because immigrants will work for fucking shit wages in America because guys at the top, they want to have bigger profit margins. They don't want to pay taxes to the government too. On top of that, they don't want to pay income tax. They don't want to pay health care. They don't want to pay Social Security. They're skirting by the system, and they're paying these political people to allow this to happen just so they could get by and save more money. And if people get fucked up,
it's votes too.
What's
just
that?
Because they're illegal, they still vote. You realize a lot. It's something like 15 to 20. I have to look it up. 15 to 20% maybe of illegals actually vote in the elections, right? And so like that can throw certain swing states depending on, you know what I mean, the demographics, right? Yeah. So let's see, because what they do is they get, like in places like California, you get a state ID. So they don't want to get pulled over, right? Like, and just sent someplace.
I've been hit by one before. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they do is they get an address, they get some mail sent to it. They take the mail, they get a state ID. Then from the state ID, they get a driver's license, take driver's test, whatever. They have a driver's license, but with the state ID, they are automatically registered to vote. And there's no it's just done by address. So there's a presumption in a lot of states of citizenship. There's no proving citizenship in most of these states. So they actually vote in the elections. That's the thing. And they're voting for government assisted programs because if they can get health care, they can get, you know what I mean? They can get, there's people who have been surviving for years illegally in the United States. They don't pay any taxes or into the system. Now, to be fair, some of the, I know some of those people, like the kids or family from those people, because military brings people from a lot of different cultures together, right? And so a lot of my like Hispanic friends like have a dad or an uncle. They've been illegal for like 10 or 15 years and they can't, it's a hard process for them to go through to get the citizenship. And they're concerned about getting caught, deported, even though they're not criminals and they're working into the system. So there is an element of, you know, having a pathway for citizenship for people who want to do it legitimately and who aren't just freaking criminals, right? But that's not what the Democrats are working on. They're working on, you know what I mean, just getting these people in here because those people vote Democrat. That's the way it is, you know. Immigration's actually fine to boost the economy. Legal immigration where people pay into a system is an economic boost, but
it's not happening legally. They're and that's the thing. And
it's not boost, right? It's a drain, right?
No, it's a drain because then you have these people, this kind of outsider class that doesn't pay taxes but still uses all the services. But the reason people keep them here is because they're cheaper to pay because of the government. The government has all these income tax, all these excessive taxes they have to pay. It's a big pain in the ass rather than paying people cash. Like, hey, fucking Juan, come fucking, you know, cut this lawn and fucking do these crazy construction jobs or, you know, working in the agricultural industry. You know, you could just pay them all cash and be like, oh, it's cash write off on my taxes, not having to do it all legally. And again, because the government, it all comes back down to the government being just an inefficient machine that is just a parasite on the average American. That's what it all boils down to. Let's wrap this up. We got 2 minutes left here.
Yeah, I gotta go to my show because I'm like,
Are you gonna leave now?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave now.
Thanks for coming by, Torsha. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good one. Let's see you next time. Let's wrap this up, Paul. Here we go.
All right.
I care about making sure that people are entitled to and receive the freedoms that they are due. I care about lifting people up and making sure that you are protected from harm. I care about tapping into the ambitions and the aspirations.
All right, I'm going to vomit. Hold on. I'm going to rewind this because this is like the ending emotional manipulation statement to close out strong. This is all an appeal to emotions. This is not logical at all. If you listen to her words, guys at home, if you listen to her words and listen to exactly what she's saying, this is just a gigantic emotional manipulation. Like, oh, I'm gonna vote for the colored woman because la 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 la. This is the story I tell myself to feel good about being a fucking retard. Here it is.
Over promising, under delivering. Why should we trust you?
So I'll say this. Look, you can look at my career to know what I care about. I care about making sure that people are entitled to and receive the freedoms that they are due. I care about lifting people up and making sure that you are protected from harm. I care about tapping into the ambitions and the aspirations of people, knowing that we are capable of so much, but you can't grow the strength of our country if you underestimate the capacity of each person, right? Which is why another thing that I'm really focused on is small businesses and startups, and giving startups a $50,000 tax deduction, because right now it's $5,000 and you can't start up any small business with $5,000.
You can't start up any. You're given a tax deduction, bitch. We need money. We need money. This is like a pimp beating your ass and be like, okay, instead of you know, having to hoe out for me, you know, I'll give you a percentage of the earnings for a portion, and then you got to continue being my fucking hoe. Like, no, you know, I'm just gonna vomit.
But the bottom line is this: I believe in the promise of America. I have not been able to be the first in every position that I've had, were it not for the promise of America. I believe in our country. I love our country. And I believe that leadership has to be about knowing our capacity and then investing.
I love our country, but I also love putting in 21 million illegal, undocumented immigrants into America.
In the people. Because lifting up each person that we do is about lifting up the whole.
Madam Vice President, thank you so much for coming on Call Her Daddy. It was truly an honor.
Thank you. And thank you for your voice.
Oh, I'm going to vomit. All right. So anything you want to, well, Paul, you give such like detailed, long responses. Let me just pull something up real quick. So I downloaded this YouTube extension that allows us to see the actual amount of dislikes. And we're going to do a little section I like to call. We're going to do comment review on the Call Her Daddy podcast on their YouTube channel. So there's a couple things you need to know. First of all, guys, they posted the entire thing on their channel, and they reduced it down to this 7-minute and 53-second clip. As you can see, it has 17,000 likes and 76,000 dislikes. This is a huge L for the Call Her Daddy podcast. Here we go. The number one thing here, man says selective service is required for all men to sign up. Millions of American men have died forcibly at the hand of the United States government, going back to Normandy, World War I, Vietnam. I mean, you name it. It's been wild. A woman here says, y'all never heard of the draft? At least 1 million American men have died under the compulsory service to this country. 40-minute with Kamala cut down to 7-minute blip fitting. And this is women too. These are women turning on them in the comment section here.
Right.
Who just came here for the comments. I cannot believe they left the comments open. This is 5 days ago, 15,000 likes and then 67,000 dislikes. That has drastically gone up. Thank you, comment section, for restoring my faith in humanity. How long till comments get disabled? This woman here says, I feel dumber after watching this. I am now burdened by what I have watched. I guess my father didn't sacrifice himself in this country for World War II when he was drafted. Thanks for letting me know. Declines Ramsey, but goes on Call Her Daddy. Yeah, you know, and then they were taking a dig at President Trump, saying like, President Trump, you're welcome to come on this podcast, because he won't go because it's a horror podcast. It is. Do you know about this podcast? Do you know about this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's about like
I don't know if it's her or her partner, who's a comedian or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like, it's supposed to be like, I mean, it's, you know, I haven't like really analyzed or watched it, but it's supposed to be comedy. Right. And so it's having dumb stories and people tell their hoe stories and their BS. And it's supposed to be a comedy show, right? It's supposed to have a comedic element to it. I don't think she's not giving like this great life lessons, you know what I mean, that anybody should be following. It's supposed to be entertainment. Now, you know how it is. People are ridiculous, and so they do follow like whatever terrible advice, you know, is given out in her podcast or whatever. With that could be, you know, but if it's meant to be comedic, right? Like, so this is it's not comedic. It's like, this is like they are trying to do something like they are
normalizing and glorifying girls being hoes. Like, look at this stuff, for example, like blowjobs, hall passes, and frat daddies. Okay. Cheating 101, getting older, hotter, and wiser. Okay. Sorry, ladies, you don't get hotter as you get older. Hate to break it to you. My partner's giving me the ick. Okay. He cheated. Do I leave? That's probably a decent one. My revenge porn experience. Like, it's like,
wow, dude, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Here we go.
I'm naive. I don't, me. I don't
Here we
watch
go.
shit.
Narcissist, blowjobs, and red flags. Lil Dicky, learning to love my dick. Okay. Hampton's confessionals. Like, I got catfished in Paris. It's not like this, we're an empowering women's podcast. Like, no, they sit around and talk about like the most vile, degenerate shit. So Trump didn't want to go on there and do it. And no, it's just again, it's just blatant manipulation. Blatant manipulation. And that's why like I said, from start to finish. Okay. I'm gonna pull up some of the things here on their YouTube channel to top it off. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just go to popular ones. So Truth About Life of a Porn Star, This Is Mia Khalifa, Tana Montague Exposed. Like, these are all not good role models for society at all. I've just sorted this by popularity. And then if you just look at the latest ones too, on top of that, again, blowjobs, hall passes, frat daddies, all of I walked out mid threesome. This guy looks he looks gay. He probably is. Yeah, that guy's gay. It's just, it's not like a cultural phenomenon, great thing. It's not at all. It's an entertainment podcast at best.
You know what? And I also made a mistake. I'll make a caveat. This is not the one my girlfriend actually watches. She watches a different one. I completely got it wrong.
I was going to talk to you after the podcast on that. Dude. I was going to talk to you after the podcast. Like, bro, I don't know if your girl she's watching that. It's like,
nah. Well, that's not the one she watches. She watches a burner phone, totally different person. Anyway. Yeah, because I got a little confused there, because that's where it's one she watches. She's on a show with a guy that she's with who's like 20 years younger. Anyways, and she's a comedian, Hannah Berner. So I actually don't know what the hell I'm talking about. You can't put me on, for at least not when it comes to pop culture. So yeah, so I got a little mixed up or whatever. But
I don't. Casual Germ says I don't think it was the host. I think it was a porn star she had on the show. I don't think it was actually her.
Yeah,
she was talking about. There was a girl that she platformed saying like she cheated on her boyfriend. She went out, snuck out, had sex with a guy, and the guy came inside her. And then the guy when she came back home, her boyfriend started eating her out, and she was just like laughing about it. So
right.
No, but this shit's dying out, bro. Her numbers are going down. Like I said, the whole be a whore meta is played out, bro. It really is.
For sure. I agree. It's well, because again, like, people are suffering, and because part of life is suffering. Part of life is suffering and learning how to overcome that. And so what happens is everyone looks to all the programming that's out there and all the externalities that are out there to try to relieve themselves from suffering. Girls going through hoe phases and doing and being relentlessly sexually promiscuous during that kind of behavior and that kind of stuff was just an attempt to relieve suffering. A feminist social order sent them this narrative and this message, this programming, that this is going to relieve their suffering. It's not. They're suffering more today than ever before. People are more neurotic than ever before. That is statistically true. And the younger people are more depressed, more anxious, and less resilient than ever before. And their relationships, are failing at a higher rate than they've ever have in history as well. So, I mean, arguably. So, it's so they're suffering, and they're going, you know what? This isn't working out too well for me. Maybe I should try something different. Maybe I should be a tradcon. Maybe I should go to church, or maybe I should do whatever. Maybe I shouldn't cheat on my boyfriend, right? Like, there is a surgence of that, which is nice to see. I knew it would oscillate eventually, but the only thing is, it's like when people oscillate, some people will do better, other people will suffer. And then they're still going to look to what? The externalities in the programming to fix their suffering. And then there'll maybe will be a whole resurgence in 20 years or 15, who knows? Maybe, you know what I mean? There's all different things. And for the guys who listen to you and to me, the point is what are you doing to unplug from all that?
Right.
That's really the main point here, you know, is that these are all narratives. Let's just talk about the immigration thing and to show you how the programming works, right? So to show the audience, right? You know how it works. 21 million illegal immigrants in the United States right now. I just looked it up. They don't know the exact numbers, hard to say, but as many as 27% vote in elections. All right. So 21 million people, 27% vote. So that's about 5.5 million people that might vote in this election. Now, 168 million arguably will probably vote in this election. Between 160 to 170 million will vote in November. So you think, well, 5.5 million, that's not a big number, but it is big. And here's why.
Wait, you said 168 million vote. Say that again.
So our last election was 168 million.
I thought you were referring to the illegals. Sorry. Okay.
No, the illegals about 5.5 million. So you think, well, 5.5 million, that's not this big number compared to 168 or whatever. But the reality is there's a chain effect of that. So I'm talking to maybe a guy in the National Guard going through one of the ranges and I'm training somebody or whatever, right? And Hispanic guy talking about a family member who's illegal and trying to get through the system, right? That guy who's illegal might be voting. And he might be influencing his family because they want their family to get into the country and to be able to become citizens and stuff like that. A lot of these people that are not criminals want a path to citizenship. The Democrats aren't really offering that, but the perception is that they are, because in the polarized discussion, Republicans are like, squash illegal immigration, which I agree, but then they're not talking about the path to citizenship. So the assumption is, well, the Democrats are going to take care of us and give us that pathway. The Democrats are not doing that, but what they are doing is allowing for more illegals to come in to get votes. The more people who are on state assistance, the more people who are dependent on the government are going to vote for Democrats to be in power. That's what their base represents, right? So like this 5.5 million people that'll vote that are illegal immigrants, they have family. So how many of what's the permutation of family members that are also voting Democrat because their uncle or their mom or their or second cousin is here illegally or wants to get here? And so this is how something like the immigration issue can be a push button issue. Now you got these people, right, who are like, you know what, my uncle, he worked hard and, you know, he's not legal and that sucks, but, you know, he wants to be a citizen. He's not a criminal. I really wish somebody would do something. I'm a Democrat because of that. All the Democrats have to do is push the hot button issue. And then anybody who's having that emotional reaction isn't going to think through the fact that the Democrats aren't doing anything for path to citizenship that I'm aware of. They're not doing anything. I mean, last 4 years has been a 20% inflation on, you know, and a drop of value in the US dollar. Groceries are 25% more expensive. All these things that affect these same people who would support them, they're not thinking about those things because what's emotionally charging them is their hot button issue. And then maybe it's an abortion, right? Maybe on the right, it's a gun rights thing. Maybe the gun rights thing is that's a hot button issue for me. That's easy for me to go, oh, well, this guy wants to take away gun rights. I'm going to be emotional now. And I'm going to stop looking at the big picture. And all they have to do is find your hot button issue, press the button, your emotions go up, your thinking goes out the window. You're no longer in control of yourself. You are now being programmed. You are now doing and making decisions that benefit others and potentially don't benefit you. I mean, they could benefit you or they could absolutely not benefit you, right? You're not consciously aware and making the decision. So, I mean, the best thing that we can do, which platforms like this one, they don't like, okay, is to make people more aware so that they can't be programmed so easily and so that they make these decisions with themselves. This is why inner game is so important. And this is why, you know, being able to disconnect from that emotional reaction from your mammalian brain and start letting your higher order thinking take over and really look at big pictures and not just let somebody manipulate you politically or otherwise, because it's not just politics. It's you guys being at home with your girlfriends or your wives, or you guys in their social circles, or you guys dealing with a boss or whatever. They just need to press the button to make you feel bad about yourself, make you feel shame, or make you feel guilt, or make you feel something. And next thing you know, you're making decisions for somebody else. That's how you are snatched up. So, you know,
yeah, it's really bad too, because a lot of guys, you know, look, Paul, I think this is in it, and it's not a dig at anybody, but like our levels of excellence and understanding social intelligence, game, women, manipulations, all our game, like dude, men are so lost. Men are categorically and undeniably confused and lost en masse. Okay. This guy in my community, and his brother didn't like his girlfriend at the time, right? His ex-girlfriend. So his brother came up with a fucking fake Instagram account, sent her a DM, and was like, hey, let's hang out, right? She's a 2-year relationship with my friend. Okay. He's like, let's hang out. She replies, well, it's a far drive, so you would need to make it worth my while. Right there, the relationship's over. The relationship is over. But my friend, it was his first relationship. He's a nice guy. And he was like, oh, I just thought she was getting manipulated by my brother. And I just felt bad for her. And I didn't. I was like, you did talk to her about this? No. You didn't confront her? You didn't say anything? No. Am I overly critical? Is that she's got to go, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's you know, it's a conversation over text, right? So you got to look behind the behavior. You know, she's saying, oh, you got to make it worth my while. So now he could do, you know, some amuse mastery of that situation and be like, seeing my pretty face is worth everybody's while. See you soon, or whatever. You know, he could just come up with a reply that's just kind of like doesn't take her serious. And if she is like, haha, all right, I'll see you whenever, and then she makes the drive and comes, then shit test passed, and it's not a big deal, right? But if she's like, no, send me money, right, or something, or you know, you need to do this, you need to do that. If she's becomes serious about that and wanting this guy to qualify to her, she's going to emotionally manipulate. Well, then that would be a no-go, and you need to kick her out of here. You know.
Well, no. I think you misunderstand. So my friend's brother, my friend is the guy dating her. My friend's brother makes a fake Chad Instagram. And DMs the girl who's in a relationship with my friend.
Oh, sorry. I mentally was looking up immigration shit. Yeah, no, that's a no. Yeah, that's a no.
The relationship's over. Done. It's over right there. Like the only thing she does
to
somebody no, it is categorically over. You're done. The relationship's done. Because if you're dating a girl and she even entertains the guy back and forth, even in the proper response for a good woman in a good relationship is zero entertainment of that. Zero. Yeah, right. Open the message, block immediately. Yeah, that's it. Just block. So I have a boyfriend.
There's plenty of girls who don't entertain that shit. I mean, this idea that women are, you know, especially the younger ones, are all doing it is false. You know what I mean? There's a lot of girls, when they get into relationships, they don't entertain it. They freaking tell their, you know, the guy that they're with, like, you know, so-and-so, like, you know, look, this guy sent me this message or whatever. They're not responding. They're blocking people. You know what I mean? In some cases, they're reducing their social media presence too. You know, because if there's there's a lot of women who do that. A lot of attractive women who do that because they understand if you want a guy who's going to take care of your shit and who checks all the blocks, you know, that's the sacrifice you're going to make. You're not going to be out there entertaining losers in your DMs to trade up a guy who's got all the blocks checked. A lot of girls, young girls, understand that, and they make that decision. So you guys out there who are putting up with that stuff from anybody is crazy. You know, you're crazy.
Over. I don't give a fuck if I sound like a dictator. I do not give a shit, because the last thing I need is some psychopath who falls in love with the girl that I'm fucking dating and then makes me a target all because she can't fucking keep her legs closed. Sorry. No.
Yeah, right.
I don't care. I'm not dealing with it. And, you know, if you think you could do better, step right up. Go ahead. You know, fucking guys with self-respect, guys who focus on the core four, money, muscles, game frame. Guys like us, we're just growing on trees everywhere. You could go out and find an amazing guy like right around the corner. We're just fucking, she's just tripping and falling over great guys, you know? Yeah, and my friend, on top of that, my friend is like a fucking very, very good investor with his money. He's very, very well off. So I'm just like, bro, like, are you like, I was like, dude, abs, because he was like, because he's continued to date her for, I told him this like a couple days ago. Like, it's been 3 or 4 years that they've been together. So 2 more years. And there's all these red flags. But the point I'm going back to is the reason why we did today's episode is to show guys, like, those women sat there too, and they did it effortlessly. And they both knew they were lying. They both knew they were manipulating. The podcast host is not some innocent victim of the fucking predatorial Kamala administration. They both, and I just wanted to show you guys how they could sit there and ask loaded questions to each other, give loaded replies, and not even lose a drop of fucking sleep over it. And here we are. You know, so that's what I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining us today, Paul. Guys, if you want to check out Paul, go check him out. He is Apex Mindset, APEX space MINDSET on YouTube. He's also has 100+ people watching on X. It's Apex Mindset, but without the E in Apex, APX Mindset. Go follow him. This guy, in my opinion, is the most well-rounded masculine content creator on the planet. I personally go to him often for a lot of the problems I have in my life. He's helped me with everything. And I just think he's a great asset to this space. Thanks, Paul, you want to say anything closing out?
Yeah, you know, I just support John and support guys like us who are cutting through all the bullshit, getting and helping you get through and navigate through the programming. Back to what I was saying before, there's all of this programming out there that's going to make you a slave to somebody else. Your hard work and your effort is going to go to fill everybody else's pockets, to take care of girls who DM other guys or who cheat on you or who leave you, to take care of kids who aren't yours. The whole thing, you're going to be used as a resource, or you're going to decide to get on your purpose and make something of yourself and decide who you want to take care of in your tribe, your circle, you know, and do it on your own terms. You're going to do one thing or the other thing to a degree. Most men are prisoners out there. And so you need to, you know, not create a prison for yourself, and you need to sort of unplug from all this shit. And guys like John are helping you do that. And so you got to support it, support the channel. And also, like, I got a community over at school and a newsletter. Get off these platforms too. Get into some of John's courses. Get into, my community is free if you go to my thing, and there's a free section in my community. So like, you can have these discussions and ask questions about issues you're working on personally. Get a lot of support there from some of the other guys. So because we can't have a lot of discussions the way we want to here. It kills our platforms, you know what I mean, when we do. And so anyways, yeah, give that support to these guys and John and myself and everything, because we're here to help you.
It's all about transformation. Guys, we're going to be back here tomorrow for the Tokyo Crypto Show. If you've been looking at the cryptocurrency markets, you've been seeing that this is going crazy. There's a lot of craziness going on and good stuff. Bitcoin just broke 68K the other day. I have to go see the doctor tomorrow to do a checkup on my elbow after the surgery. We're all nice and healed up here pretty much. So we're going to be a little late. If not, I'll be the show won't be done. I'll let you guys know as soon as I can. But we will not be on time tomorrow. That being said, we'll catch you guys later. Peace out.